Chapter 865. If such a powerful cultivator were to help the Dal tribe, it would be extremely disadvantageous for our Menghuang tribe. Since the Dal tribe was able to recruit them with crystal coins, I wonder if we can use even higher crystal coins to recruit them from the Dal tribe to our side. If we can, then the power of our Menghuang tribe will undoubtedly increase significantly, said one of the Menghuang tribe's guardian elders. If we want to recruit two 14-star Poseidon warriors, we'll have to pay quite a hefty price. It'll cost over 10 million great quality crystal coins at the very least, but if we can take over the entire mine of the Dal tribe, it'll be worth it, the current clan leader murmured. The current patriarch muttered to himself. Then, he led two guardian elders and a few other clansmen into the auction house, following behind a maidservant. This little incident on the platform did not affect the auction in the slightest. When the people of the Meng desolate tribe and the Dal tribe disappeared from the platform, the place once again regained its tranquility. Many people from major factions and tribes came to the platform in an orderly manner and were then led away by a servant girl with a warm expression. The scale of the Garth City auction was very large. The castle, which was 50 meters tall, was completely hollowed out and divided into 10 floors. Each floor was filled with densely packed seats, and at the very front was a high platform for displaying items and auctioning them. The VIP rooms were located at the highest point of the castle. They surrounded the entire castle and were isolated by a layer of special glass. The people inside could clearly see what was outside, but the people outside could not see what was going on inside. Within the VIP room, Jianshun and newbies reclined comfortably on the soft sofa. They seemed to be at ease, while the patriarch of the Dal tribe sat to one side, observing the situation in the other rooms through the special glass that covered the VIP room. The female attendant who had led Jianshun, newbies brought over many delicious pastries and various unknown fruits. She placed them on a crystal table and said, "Warriors, these are all extremely precious pastries and fruits of the sea race. Please enjoy them as you please. My name is Lan Shuiling. If you have any requests, I will do my best to satisfy you." Lan Shuiling had a bright smile on her face as her body exuded a unique charm. Her bright eyes were filled with the color of spring. Newbies reclined on the sofa with his hands behind his head. He stared at Lan Shuiling with narrowed eyes, and a wicked smile appeared on his face. He teased, "If I, the great newbies, wanted your body, would you satisfy us as well?" "Of course." Lan Shuiling smiled charmingly and began to slowly remove her clothes. Immediately, a large expanse of blue skin was revealed. Jianxin frowned when he saw this. He waved his hand at Lan Shuiling. "All right, stop removing your clothes. The three of us have some important matters to discuss. You can leave first. We'll naturally call you when we need you." "Yes, esteemed warriors." Lan Shuiling's face, newbies, and newbies. What a coquettish girl. Newbies murmured as he stared in the direction Lan Shuiling had disappeared in. His eyes were clear. His eyes were bright. "Newbies, don't tell me you've taken a fancy to her." Jianxin chuckled. Go, the great newbies, won't take a fancy to such a vulgar woman. But you're still the best. You've even taken that demoness who brings calamity to the country. Admirable, admirable. Newbies' face was filled with an evil grin. After an hour, the huge auction hall was finally filled with people. All kinds of discussions filled the entire auction hall. It was as if the buzzing of bees didn't stop. Distinguished guests. Suddenly, a loud and clear voice resounded throughout the auction hall. The people sitting on the seats finally quieted down following this voice. In the blink of an eye, the originally noisy auction hall was completely silent. Only a large number of densely packed heads could be seen. At the front of the high platform, a slightly skinny old man was standing there with a smile on his face. The voice just now came from his mouth. At the same time, he was also the host of this auction. His strength had already reached the level of a 13-star Poseidon warrior. "Distinguished guests, we warmly welcome everyone to participate in the once-in-a-100-year auction of the Lost Auction House. In this auction, Our lost auction house will not only display more treasures and heaven and earth treasures than the previous auction, but also the last piece of the 8 Wastelands map that has attracted the attention of many large tribes. Speaking up to here, the auctioneer's voice paused for a moment before continuing. I think many of the guests here are very clear about the arrival of the 8 Wastelands map fragment. This map fragment was left behind by the famous 8 Wastelands Great Emperor. The 8 Wastelands Great Emperor was originally a rogue cultivator in our sea region. He didn't join any forces, but with his extraordinary talent and without the guidance of a teacher, he surpassed many geniuses. He stepped on a path paved with mountains of corpses and seas of bones to reach the peak of his life. He became a great emperor whose name shook the sea region and was revered by countless people. Although the 8 Wastelands Great Emperor passed away because his time was up, the 8 Wastelands Shrine that he had created was left behind. It was sealed in a void by the 8 Wastelands Great Emperor with absolute strength. The 8 Wastelands map fragment is the guide to finding the 8 Wastelands Shrine and the key to opening it. The 8 Wastelands Great Emperor had no disciples and had always been alone. Rumor has it that when he was about to die, he left behind his legacy and everything he had learned in the 8 Wastelands Shrine. Once you obtain the legacy of the 8 Wastelands Great Emperor, I think everyone here is very clear on what that entails. Moreover, the 8 Wastelands Great Emperor's legacy is in the shrine of the 8 Wastelands Great Emperor's legacy, as well as his treasures. I think everyone here knows better than this old man just how rich the treasures of a great emperor are. It's an enormous wealth second only to the 3 supreme shrines of our sea region. Heavy breathing immediately rang out in the quiet auction hall. The legacy and wealth of a great emperor was an irresistible temptation to everyone present. Even those from the top clans found it difficult to remain calm. Jianshan and newbies who were seated in the VIP box could not help but feel their hearts skip a beat. They had already become very interested in the 8 Wastelands map fragment. As for the patriarch of the Doll tribe, he was even more unbearable. The huge wealth had already tempted him to the point where his eyes were bloodshot and he was breathing heavily. However, the patriarch of the Doll tribe soon calmed down and his emotions gradually returned to normal. He knew that the 8 Wastelands map fragment had no fate with him at all. The matter of the 8 Wastelands map fragment was not something he could participate in. The auctioneer's voice rang out in the auction hall once more. 7 of the 8 Wastelands map fragments have already appeared. This will be the last one. Everyone, as long as you possess this map fragment, you'll be qualified to enter the 8 Wastelands Divine Temple and obtain great opportunities. All right, I won't say any more. The 8 Wastelands map fragment will be the finale of this auction. The auction will now officially begin. The first treasure, subsequently, one treasure after another was brought up for auction. The Garth auction house was only held once every 100 years, and the items being auctioned were undoubtedly the best of the best. Every time an item was brought up, it would cause many people to fight over it. All kinds of bids were made one after another, and it was a fierce struggle for wealth. The item being auctioned right now is a ruler armament left behind by a human expert. The starting bid is 100,000 supreme quality crystal coins. The auctioneer's voice rang through the entire auction hall. Jianshan and newbies suddenly snapped open their eyes. They stared in the direction of the stage with shining eyes. They saw a scantily clad female attendant carefully bring up a cleaver that had been hidden behind a hand. This really is a ruler armament. It's a saint armament left behind by a human 9th heavenly layer saint ruler. Jianshan was secretly shocked. Every single ruler armament on the Tian Yuan continent would be treated as a family heirloom by the hermit clans. They were extremely precious. He never thought that there would actually be someone auctioning off such a precious ruler armament in the sea realm. As far as I know, this king armament can only be used by human experts. Could it be that the Sea tribe can also use king armaments like human experts? Jianshan thought inside. He then looked at the patriarch of the Doll tribe and asked, "Patriarch, may I ask what use this ruler armament has to us sea race?" Surprise flashed through the patriarch's eyes when he heard that. However, he still explained to Jianshan in detail. Esteemed warrior, the ruler armament of a human expert is a rare treasure to us sea race. It was left behind by a human ninth heavenly layer saint ruler when he was about to pass away. Not only does it contain his energy, but it also contains quite a lot of vital energies. If we can absorb it, our strength will drastically increase. Can ruler armaments be refined and absorbed? Jianshan was surprised. He had never thought that the sea race would have such an ability aside from his ability to refine ruler armaments with the help of the sword spirits. Of course we can. As long as we use the spirit refining formation of the sea race, we can refine ruler armaments into energy that we can absorb. However, only we sea race can use this method. Human experts won't use this method because they can directly use ruler armaments and unleash great power. The strength a ruler armament can bring them is far greater than just refining and absorbing it, said the patriarch of the Dal tribe. I see. Jianshan understood. The sea race could not use ruler armaments like humans, but they had a method to refine ruler armaments into pure energy for absorption. 150,000 great quality crystal coins. 180,000 great quality crystal coins. 200,000 great quality crystal coins. 250,000 great quality crystal coins. Chapter 866. Jianshan shook his head. Although the crystal coins of the sea race were different from the purple coins of the Tian Yuan continent, he knew that the price of the ruler armament was far too low. This was all because the ruler armament was not as useful to the sea race as it was to human experts. If it were not for the fact that Jianshan wanted to keep enough crystal coins for the sea spirit water, he would have bought the ruler armament himself. Even if he did not need it, he could give it to the people around him. Obtaining a ruler armament on the Tian Yuan continent was extremely difficult. Next, precious items were taken out for auction one after another. Not only were there various pills and medicines, but there were also 10,000-year-old heavenly resources. However, the final price of these heavenly resources was far lower than the purple coins of the Tian Yuan continent. This was because the purple coins were only made from a rare and precious metal. They did not have any practical use other than being used as currency. Unlike the crystal coins, which were completely condensed from the water-attributed spiritual energy of the world, they could be absorbed to increase one's strength, which was very powerful. The next item is a Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pill. This pill comes from the distant Tian Yuan continent. It's a sacred medicine for healing and is extremely precious. As long as they still have a single breath left in them, it can rapidly heal even heavily injured 15th or 16th star warriors like Poseidon. It's equivalent to granting them a second life. The starting price is 200,000 Supreme Grade Crystal Coins, 300,000 Supreme Grade Crystal Coins, 350,000 Supreme Grade Crystal Coins, 500,000 Supreme Grade Crystal Coins. Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills could only be produced on the Tian Yuan continent, and they could only be created by Class 7 Radiant Saint Masters. They would rarely end up in the Sea Realm, so their value is evident. As a result, the price of Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills in the Sea Realm was much higher than on the Tian Yuan continent. The pill was sold for 1,200,000 Supreme Grade Crystal Coins in the end. Jianshan squinted his eyes as he leaned against the soft couch. He thought, I never thought that Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills would be so valuable. A single one could be sold for 1,200,000 Supreme Grade Crystal Coins. I'm already a Class 7 Radiant Saint Master, so I should be able to create some Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills to exchange for crystal coins. Although creating Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills requires a sliver of Radiant Saint Force Origin Energy, there should be a lot of Origin Energy in the artifact spirit, so there's no need for me to waste my own. However, the only problem is the shell. Without an alchemist who knows how to produce the shell, I can't create Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills at all. Jianshan had already made up his mind. If the conditions were right, he would definitely create a few more Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills. As long as he had enough shells, creating Class 8 Radiant Spirit Pills should be a very easy task with the artifact spirit's abilities. Even a legendary Class 9 Radiant Spirit Pills would not be a problem. In the blink of an eye, the auction had already gone on for 2 whole days. During this time, the auction had been going on without any interruption. Fortunately, the people who could sit here were all quite powerful. 2 days and 2 nights without eating or sleeping did not affect them at all. The next item to be auctioned is a rare, sacred item, heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. This heavenly divine water of heaven and earth can only be produced in the crisis-ridden divine realm. It only appears once in 1,000 years and is very precious. However, its powerful effects are beyond doubt. As long as a person drinks a mouthful of it, he or she will be reborn and become a cultivation genius. His or her future achievements will be limitless. In addition, this heavenly divine water of heaven and earth also has a miraculous effect on 13-star and 14-star Poseidon warriors. Not only can it greatly increase one's strength, but it can also condense and strengthen the primordial spirit. This will lay a solid foundation for the future when one steps into the 15-star Poseidon warrior. If a warrior at the peak of the 14-star consumes this heavenly divine water of heaven and earth, there's a great chance that he or she will break through the bottleneck and step into the 15-star realm. There's only one portion of heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. If there is a need for it, please be sure to cherish this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Otherwise, you'll have to wait for another 1,000 years. Its starting price is 500,000 top-grade crystal coins. The appearance of the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth immediately energized Jianshan. His slightly closed eyes suddenly opened, and even his half-lying body on the sofa sat up straight. This was because this heavenly divine water of heaven and earth was the spirit sea sacred water that he needed. It was produced in the spirit sea, but it had a different name in the sea race. Noticing Jianshan's reaction, Newbies asked, "Is this the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth you want?" Jianshan nodded. "That's right. This is extremely important to me. I have to obtain it no matter what." The patriarch of the Dal tribe glanced at Jianshan, but did not say anything. He knew how precious the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth was, but he did not know whether 10 million top-grade crystal coins would be enough to purchase it. There had always been a legend among the sea race that once someone ingested the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth, they would have a very high chance of becoming a 15-star or even 16-star Poseidon warrior in the future. As a result, every time the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth appeared, it would be fought over by many large tribes. The competition for the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth had already begun. Several dozen organizations in the VIP rooms expressed their interest in the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. They all called out their bids. Very soon, the price of the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth rose from 500,000 to over 3 million. "Patriarch, whether I can obtain the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth this time will all depend on you." Jianshan looked at the patriarch of the Dal tribe sternly. The patriarch of the Dal tribe showed a bitter smile. "Respected warrior, the Dal tribe will do our best to help you." Now, the patriarch of the Dal tribe had no other choice. If he wanted to protect the Dal tribe, he could only do his best to curry favor with Jianshan. Jianshan nodded slightly, then called out, 5 million top-grade crystal coins." Jianshan increased the price by more than 1 million top-grade crystal coins, which immediately silenced the auction hall. Immediately, many eyes gathered there. 2 million top-grade crystal coins. But very soon, another bid sounded, surpassing Jianshan's bid of 5 million. 5 for million top-grade crystal coins. 5 million top-grade crystal coins. 6 million top-grade crystal coins. The price was still rising, and there were still many people from large tribes who had not given up on competing for the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. 8 million top-grade crystal coins. In the VIP room, Jianshan called out the price expressionlessly. The preciousness of the holy water of heaven and earth had far exceeded his expectations. Now, he could not bear it anymore, because he was very close to the price of 10 million top-grade crystal coins offered by the doll tribe. He could only raise the price like crazy. On one hand, it showed that he was determined to obtain the holy water of heaven and earth, and on the other hand, he wanted some people to back off. This time, the price increased from 5 million to 8 million, which was an increase of more than 2 million top-grade crystal coins. It immediately scared some people away, and some tribes and forces immediately withdrew from competing for the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. In a VIP room across from Jinshan, the three powerhouses of the Menghuang tribe sat on a soft sofa. A guardian chief said with a deep voice, "The old chief is close to the peak of the 14-star Poseidon. The heavenly divine water of heaven and earth will be of great use to the old chief. It might even allow the old chief to break through the 14-star Poseidon level and enter the 15-star level. As a result, the Menghuang tribe must obtain the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth." That's right. Once the old chief successfully breaks through, the status of the Menghuang tribe will rise again. We must buy the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth for the old chief to bring back, another guardian elder added. The current chief of the Menghuang tribe pondered for a while and said, "The voice who called out the price of 800 crystal coins sounds familiar. It seems to be the two mysterious powerhouses that the doll tribe invited. That's even more reason to not let them have the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth." With that, the current chief of the Menghuang tribe immediately called out a price, 5 million crystal coins. In another room, two middle-aged men in blue robes sat there with sunken faces. They were also the leaders of a large tribe and possessed great statuses. "I'm the chief of a tribe, but my son's talent is mediocre. He probably won't even be able to reach the 11th star. How will he inherit the position of chief in the future? The heavenly, divine water of heaven and earth just happens to be able to solve my son's problem. As long as he has the heavenly, divine water of heaven and earth, my son will immediately become a cultivation prodigy that only appears once every 1,000 years. Reaching the 13th star won't be a problem for him, and he might even reach the 15th star. I must obtain the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth." In another room, four extremely ordinary old men sat there. One of them frowned as cold light flickered in his eyes from time to time. "Whatever. Elder Ho too. Let's give up on the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. Our target is the map fragment of the 8 wastelands. We need to leave behind enough crystal coins to compete for the map fragment. We can't waste too many crystal coins on other things." One of the old men looked at his sunken companion and said. The sunken elder nodded and gently sighed. "All right, we can only give up on the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. It's a pity that it appeared at the same time as the map fragment of the 8 wastelands. Otherwise, I would have tried to obtain the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth no matter what. It's a rare treasure that only appears once every 1,000 years. 9 million top-grade crystal coins." In another private room, a young man in blue clothes with an evil look on his face made a bid. He had already reached the peak of the 14th star, which was equivalent to the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler on the Tianyuan continent. The final barrier firmly blocked him, making it difficult for him to break through. He did not have much time left either, so he could only break through with the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. "I only have over 100 years left. Even if I have to take out all the savings I've accumulated over the past 3,000 years, or even all the wealth I have, I must obtain the heavenly divine water of heaven and earth. It's my only hope of breaking through," the young man said with a deep voice. Heavy killing intent filled his eyes. 9,500,000 crystal coins. Jinshan called out another price. His face had become sunken as well. He was still short by 500,000 crystal coins. Chapter 867. Jinshan's expression became very ugly. He clenched his fists tightly, and there was even a strong murderous intent in his eyes. If other treasures had been won by others, he would still have time to take them back. However, the divine water of the world was not like other treasures. Jinshin was really worried that others would drink the divine water as soon as they won it, cutting off the chance for others to snatch it back. 10. 5 million top-grade crystal coins. The young man, with the evil look on his face, made a bid. His expression was also very ugly. This price was close to his bottom line. 11 million top-grade crystal coins. A middle-aged man in a VIP room said through gritted teeth. Jinshin looked at the chief of the doll tribe and said, "Chief, how many more top-grade crystal coins can your tribe take out? Take the extra as a loan for me. I will definitely pay you back in double in the future." The chief of the doll tribe pondered for a moment and said bitterly, "Our doll tribe should be able to take out 5 million top-grade crystal coins after emptying all our savings. Warrior, since you need it, we will give you 5 million crystal coins as long as you help our tribe deal with the hidden danger of the Menghang tribe." When he said this, the chief of the doll tribe's heart was bleeding. These 15 million crystal coins were all the savings of the doll tribe for thousands of years. It had almost emptied the foundation of the doll tribe. Fortunately, they controlled a spirit vein and could produce a lot of crystal coins every year. As long as they could keep the tribe safe, it would not be long before the doll tribe recovered. Jinshin was not pretentious. He said, "I will remember the chief's kindness. I will definitely pay you back in double in the future." 11. 2 million top-grade crystal coins. The voice of the Meng Huang tribe came from outside again. In the private room of the Meng Huang tribe, the foreheads of the 3 experts of the tribe were covered in cold sweat. According to their estimates, they could only take out 10 million top-grade crystal coins. Now, this price had far exceeded their estimates and was almost at the limit of what they could bear. Although their Meng Huang tribe controlled a medium spirit vein and a small spirit vein and could produce a lot of crystal coins every year, crystal coins were consumables. Moreover, their tribe had a large population and would consume a huge amount of crystal coins every day for cultivation. Almost every year, the consumption of crystal coins was 80% of the spirit vein's production. They only had 20% of their savings, which was not much at all. 12 million top-grade crystal coins. I, the evil king, will take this divine water of the world. If there is anyone who offers a higher price, then make a bid. I, the evil king, will not compete. 12 million crystal coins was all he had. He had robbed many small clans and killed many experts of the sea race. He could not take out any more crystal coins now. 12 million crystal coins was all he had. He had painstakingly collected them after robbing many small clans and killing many experts of the sea race. He could not take out any more crystal coins now. This evil king is too abominable. He actually robbed me on my way here and snatched 100,000 top-grade crystal coins from me. The quiet auction hall was suddenly filled with a buzz of discussion. Everyone was talking about the evil king. Their tone was filled with anger and strong resentment. It was obvious that the evil king had offended many people, but because of his extraordinary strength, very few people dared to take revenge on him. The middle-aged man's face immediately changed when he heard the evil king's name. He murmured, "I never thought it would actually be the evil king. The evil king's strength has already reached the peak of the 14th star. He's only a step away from the 15th star, and he doesn't have much time left. If I take the divine water of the world, the evil king will definitely do everything he can to take it from me. Whatever, I'm not competing for it." The faces of the 2 protector elders and the current patriarch became rather ugly in the Meng Huang clan's private room. "Sai, let's just give up. The evil king's strength is extraordinary. He stood at the peak for several hundred years already, far surpassing the previous patriarch. Even if the 3 of us and the previous patriarch work together, we'll probably only be able to fight to a draw with the evil king. If we continue to compete, we'll definitely offend the evil king. When that happens, the evil king will probably kill his way into our tribe and bring a great disaster to our tribe." One of the protector elders sighed. "Whatever, let's not compete. The previous patriarch has the divine water of the world and might become a 15th-star Poseidon warrior in the next century. But once the divine water ends up in our hands, we'll probably be killed by the evil king before we can even return," the current patriarch of the Meng Huang clan said. He immediately gave up on competing for a treasure like the divine water of the world. The evil king was all alone. He had nothing to worry about, and he was about to die. He had nothing to worry about, so he could do anything, let alone a tribe like theirs. The evil king would even dare to attack a peak tribe with a powerful 15th-star warrior. The evil king. In Jinshin's room, the patriarch of the doll tribe's face became extremely ugly. His eyes were filled with great fear. The evil king's reputation was like thunder to him. He was a vicious person who was 100 times more terrifying than the Menghuang clan. I never thought that Hope would be determined to obtain the divine water of the world as well. Warriors, let's not compete. We can't offend the evil king because of this. The patriarch of the doll tribe pleaded with Jinshin and the evil king. Jinshin glanced at the patriarch of the doll tribe before slowly closing his eyes. He leaned back against the comfortable sofa and said nonchalantly, "Why shouldn't I compete? I have to obtain the divine water of the world. Let alone a 14-star Heisen warrior. I'll even fight for a 15-star Poseidon warrior." But this evil king, the patriarch of the doll tribe, was worried. He was extremely fearful of the evil king. What's there to be afraid of? Is this shitty evil king really that powerful? Why can't I, the great newbies, sense anything? If the shitty Hope really does come looking for trouble with us, the great newbies, will definitely make it so that he won't be able to return alive. Newbies sneered. Not only would golden-striped silver snakes become much more powerful after absorbing the essence of their kin, but they would also evolve into an even more powerful existence. On the other hand, newbies had not evolved after absorbing the essence of the Class 8 magical beast, but he had benefited greatly as well. His body's strength had greatly increased. Even if he encountered an ancient beast of the same level, he was confident that he could emerge victorious. 12 million going once. The auctioneer's voice rang through the entire auction house. With the evil king's reputation, very few people are bold enough to offend him. Looks like the divine water of the world is destined to be the evil king's. I just hope the evil king doesn't break through successfully, or there'll be no hope for revenge. The auction house buzzed with discussion. Everyone believed that no one dared to bid anymore. 12 million going twice, 12 million, I'll bid 12. 1 million. At this moment, an extremely indifferent voice rang out from a VIP room. This bid instantly silenced the entire auction hall. At this moment, everyone's gazes turned towards the room where the voice came from. It was as if they wanted to see who dared to go against the famous evil king. In another room, the evil-looking evil king smashed the crystal table before him to pieces with a single punch. His face was filled with malice as he icily said, All right. I'd like to see just who dares to oppose me." The three experts from the Menghuang tribe were surprised by Jinshin's bid as well. They stared in the direction of Jinshin's room in surprise. They had never thought that the two experts the doll tribe had invited would actually dare to oppose the evil king. All right. Man proposes, but the heavens disposes. I never thought that they'd actually offend the evil king. This is great. We don't even need to do anything. The doll tribe is probably going to be destroyed. A guardian elder from the Menghuang tribe laughed aloud. Although the two experts that the doll tribe has invited are both 14-star warriors, the difference between 14-star warriors is extremely great. Evil King's strength has already reached the peak of the 14th star. He's only a step away from reaching 15th star. The two experts that the doll tribe has invited are definitely no match for Evil King, the current chief of the Menghuang tribe said. He smiled happily. The two of them clashed with the renowned heretic king. This was obviously something that the Menghuang tribe was extremely happy to see. Not only did the sudden bid surprise many people in the auction house, but even the auctioneer was stunned. Perhaps he had never thought that someone would actually offend the powerful evil king for the divine water of the world. After all, while the divine water of the world was precious, it was not absolute. Some would appear in the divine sea almost every 1,000 years, but it was not easy to obtain. Aside from possessing great strength, one also needed great fortune. 12. 1 million going once. Is there anyone willing to bid higher? The auctioneer called out. 12. 1 million going twice. 12. 1 million going thrice. Sold. I now announce that the rare divine water of the world has been won by the guest in VIP room 58. Jinshin could not help but smile faintly. He felt very happy that he had collected another material for the Azulite swords. He felt that this trip had been worth it. If it were not for the fact that he had come to Garth City, he probably would not have been able to come across the divine water of the world. The auction continued, and many extremely precious treasures appeared. After another day, it was finally time for the final item of the auction. It was a fragment of the 8 wastelands. Many of the first-rate tribes and clans present had come for the fragment of the 8 wastelands. The auction for the fragment of the 8 wastelands was naturally even more intense. In less than half an hour, the price had risen from 5 million to over 50 million. There were still many clans competing for it, so the price continued to rise. Jinshin did not participate in the bidding for the fragment of the 8 wastelands. Instead, he sat to the side and watched. At this moment, Jinshin's eyes narrowed. He immediately became rather stern. He could sense many powerful people outside the auction house, including many Holy Emperor experts. Jinshin, it looks like obtaining the fragment of the 8 wastelands will not be easy. I can sense the presence of Holy Emperor experts, and there are quite a few of them, Newbies said sternly. Chapter 868. There's no hurry. The 8 Wastelands is related to the legacy of a holy emperor, so it'll definitely attract the attention of many large organizations. The arrival of some holy emperor experts is completely within my expectations. Right now, all we need to do is observe the situation and find an opportunity to reap the benefits. Since the mysterious woman has asked us to compete for the 8 Wastelands, let's do our best, Jinshin replied secretly. He was calm and composed. Jinshin, we don't even know the identity of the mysterious woman. Are we supposed to trust her that much? What if she's plotting something by asking us to compete for the 8 Wastelands? Newbies was rather worried. With that, Jinshin replied after a moment of thought. Although we don't know the identity of the woman, she's extremely powerful. That's something that cannot be doubted. At the same time, she knows everything about me on the Tian Yuan continent, including the matters between me and the Protector clans, as well as my grievances on the Beast God continent. If she wants to harm us, all she needs to do is announce our identities, but she hasn't done that. And from our conversation last time, she's not helping us for no reason. Fair enough. The mysterious woman said that if she helps you now, you'll have to help her in the future. She probably won't harm us. Newbies found it reasonable as well, so he nodded in agreement. The two of them communicated secretly, so it was impossible for their voices to leak out. As a result, the patriarch of the Dao tribe had no idea what the two of them were talking about. 85 million great quality crystal coins. 86 million great quality crystal coins. The bidding didn't stop. The competition for the 8 Desolation map fragment was still going on fiercely. More than a dozen big forces had participated in the competition for the map fragment. After 5 whole minutes, the price of the 8 Wastelands had reached 100 million great quality crystal coins. Even a few large tribes could not afford such a high price, so they all withdrew from the auction. However, there were still quite a few wealthy organizations that insisted on bidding for the 8 Wastelands, so the price continued to climb as time went on. The competition for the 8 Wastelands only ended after 4 hours. It was purchased by a Peak clan from the Heaven Spirit Hall, one of the 3 divine halls of the Sea Realm, for an astronomical price of 380 million. With the purchase of the 8 Wastelands, the Centennial Auction in Gas City officially came to an end. Afterward, Jinshan and Newbies led the patriarch of the Dao tribe to the backstage of the auction to deal with the procedures of handing over the divine water of the world. The divine water of the world was what the Sea clan called it. Its true name was the sacred water of the Spirit Sea. Jinshin accepted the sacred water of the Spirit Sea in a jade bottle with surging emotions. He carefully placed it into his space ring before leaving with the other two. As soon as they left the place where the items were handed over, a young man in blue robes with a hint of evilness on his face blocked Jinshin's path. The young man's gaze was cold, and a heavy killing intent was hidden in the depths of his eyes. Diablo! The patriarch of the Dao tribe's face immediately changed when he saw the young man. He could not help but cry out. Jianshun and newbies looked at the young man, who was about the same age as them, with interest. They smiled gently. "Your Diablo, cut the bullshit. Give me the divine water of the world, and I'll spare your lives." Diablo coldly stared at Jianshun. His voice was extremely frigid, without any emotion at all. Diablo and newbies were both at the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. So how could newbies tolerate someone at the same level as him boasting with his pride? He immediately became furious and took a step forward. A powerful presence immediately radiated from him, firmly pressing down on Diablo. He coldly said, "What dogs hit Diablo? You don't have the right to be arrogant before the great newbies. Piss off, or don't blame me for being rude to you." Newbies controlled his presence extremely well. He only targeted Diablo with his presence at the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. It did not spread out and affect the auction house at all. A gleam of light immediately flashed through Diablo's eyes under the pressure of Newbie's presence. He glared at Newbies and finally became slightly stern. Although they had not engaged in an open battle, he could sense Newbie's strength. He was definitely an expert who was no weaker than him. "Who are you?" Diablo growled. At that moment, he seemed to have completely ignored the existence of Jianshun and the patriarch of the Dao tribe. All he could see was Newbies. "I'm the great Newbies. Didn't you hear what I just said?" Newbies growled. A vicious light shone from his eyes. The berserk and bloodthirsty nature of his magical beast bloodline had already been unleashed involuntarily. "Guests, fighting is forbidden in the auction house. If you have any grievances, please settle them outside the city." At this moment, an old voice suddenly rang out. An extraordinary old man strode over from afar. With a gentle wave of his hand, an invisible force immediately surged over, suppressing Newbie's presence. A gleam of light flashed through Jinshin's eyes. The old man had suppressed Newbie's presence so easily, so he was definitely a supreme expert who had reached the level of Holy Emperor. He was at the 5th heavenly layer at the very least, no weaker than by Yifei and Ling Yuanzi. The sea race really is filled with hidden dragons and crouching tigers. I never thought that such an expert would be hidden in a tiny auction house. The sea race really is powerful. Not only do they have more Holy Emperor than the Tian Yuan continent, but even the Holy Emperor has far more peak saint rulers than the Tian Yuan continent, Jinshin thought. He gained a new understanding of the sea race's strength. Newbies also sensed the old man's strength, and a rare deep fear appeared on his face. He immediately erased his presence and did not do anything excessive. When he saw the old man, the usually fearless Xie Wang's expression finally changed. His eyes were filled with shock and fear as he looked at the old man. Soon after, he respectfully cupped his hands towards the old man and said, "Greetings to Elder Jia." Senior Lan calmly studied the three of them. He smiled warmly and said, "No matter who you are, since you've come to my auction house, you're our guests. Guests, I don't care about your grievances, nor do I care about them. However, please do not break the rules of the city. If you want to settle your grievances, please do it outside the city. Do not break the order of the city." "Yes, Senior Jia, I will never break the rules of Garth City." Diablo immediately behaved like an obedient child. He felt respect and fear for the old man from the bottom of his heart. Senior Jia said to Diablo, "You've damaged a table in the auction house. Go pay the compensation yourself." "Yes." Diablo did not dare to disobey. He stared at Newbies and Jianshun and said in a deep voice, "I will find you again." With that, Diablo left to pay the compensation. Senior Lan did not pay any attention to Jianshun and the others. He walked past them and disappeared around the corner. Gas City, Gas Auction House, and Senior Jia. Is there a connection between these three? Could that old man be the Gas Auction House's master? Looking at the old man's back, Jianshun murmured to himself. In a sealed secret room in the auction house, Senior Jia was sitting together with a few other old men to discuss. "Gade, escorting the 8 Wastelands map will be very dangerous. Many masters will come to steal it. We hope you can help us," one of the old men said. Old Senior Jia pondered for a moment before nodding sternly. 3,000 years ago, a great elder of your Hao clan saved my life. I never had the chance to repay him. Now that the great elder has passed away, I won't be able to see him again in this life. Since your Hao clan needs me this time, I'll help you this time. Treat it as me repaying the great elder of your Hao clan for saving my life. Chapter 869. After leaving the auction house, Jianshun and newbies directly made their way out of the city. Along the way, Jianshun discovered that there were many experts hidden in the surroundings. Some of them had come to participate in the auction, while others had other intentions. At this moment, a tremendous presence appeared in the distance. Over a dozen people of various ages flew out of the auction house and made their way out of the city. That's the famed Hao Jia of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Hao Jia is one of the strongest, even with the entire sea realm in perspective. They're Hao Jia's people. It's said that Hao Jia bought the 8 wastelands for an extremely high price. Hao Jia has actually brought so many experts. They must have left with the 8 wastelands. Isn't that the city lord of Gas City, Gade? Why is he with Hao Jia's people? Not only is Gade the city lord of Gas City, but he's also the owner of the auction house behind the scenes. He's the former patriarch of the #1 clan in the city, the Gas Clan. Is he with Hao Jia's people to assist Hao Jia in escorting the 8 wastelands? Gade's strength has already reached the 16th star. With him escorting them, I don't think anyone would be bold enough to try anything with the 8 wastelands. That's not necessarily the case. I've heard that quite a few experts from the 3 territories of the sea race have come. There's no lack of 16th star Poseidon warriors among them. Discussions rang out on the streets. A few experts looked at the group of people flying through the sky and discussed amongst themselves. Gade was a renowned peak expert in the region. His appearance had dispelled many people's thoughts of trying to steal the 8 wastelands. Gade and Hao Jia's group moved very quickly. They shot through the sky like meteors, disappearing into the distance in the blink of an eye. They left Gas City very soon. Since the sea realm was enveloped by a powerful protective barrier, it was equivalent to another world. Holy Emperor experts were unable to rip open space there, so Hao Jia's group could only fly back to their clan. Soon after Hao Jia's group left, many figures flickered through the city of gas. Many experts hidden in the surroundings chased after Hao Jia's group. Basically, all of them were saint rulers, and there were even a few Holy Emperor-level experts. Jianxin stood where he was and watched the people leave. The light in his eyes flickered. Warriors, you've already gotten what you want. Do you think? The patriarch of the Doll tribe wanted to say something, but he hesitated. He was slightly worried. He had already bet all the wealth of his tribe on Jianxin, so he really was afraid that the two of them would suddenly go back on their word. Jianxin glanced behind casually and faintly sneered. Patriarch, let's leave Gas City first. Jianxin, about the 8 wastelands. Newbies asked through a communication technique. There's no rush. Let them fight for a while. Don't worry, I've got everything under control. Jianxin replied through a communication technique. His voice was filled with great confidence. He had already expanded the senses of his soul as much as he could, covering a radius of 5,000 kilometers. He was able to observe their movements clearly. I'm relieved to hear that, newbies replied. Jianxin, newbies, and the patriarch of the Doll tribe left Gas City together and flew off into the distance. Just when they were 50 kilometers away from Gas City, a tremendous presence suddenly appeared. Behind Jianxin's group of 3, Diablo, who was dressed in blue robes, chased after them coldly. His body had become one with space, and he used spatial force to travel. He moved as fast as lightning. It's Diablo. He's actually caught up. The patriarch of the Doll tribe's face changed slightly. He glanced at Jianxin and newbies, who were standing beside him calmly. He could not help but relax. Jianxin and newbies stopped moving. They hovered in the air as they stared at Diablo's arrival. A few seconds later, Diablo stopped 50 meters away from Jianxin's group of 3. He glared at newbies as anger and killing intent burned in his eyes. Newbies crossed his arms and stared at Diablo in a mocking manner. He sneered, What? do you still want to fight with the great newbies? Give me the divine water of the world, and I'll leave immediately. Otherwise, I swear that I'll never let you go, Diablo said emotionlessly. Xia Wang said expressionlessly. The divine water of heaven and earth was his only hope. In order to get the divine water of heaven and earth back, he didn't care even if he had to die because he didn't have much time left. Newbies' face turned cold. He said, "Before the great newbies, you don't have the right to say that to me, unless you're a 15-star Poseidon warrior. Since you're not going to let us go, I'll beat you until you're looking for your teeth on the ground." With that, Newbies arrived before Diablo in a flash. He directly threw a punch at Diablo with an ear-piercing sound. Wherever the punch passed, the surrounding space would tremble violently. The space in the Sea Race's world was much tougher than the outside world. Newbies' punch would have easily ripped through space outside, but it could only make space tremble here. Although Diablo was conceited, he knew that Newbies was no weaker than him. He immediately threw a punch as hard as he could, colliding violently with Newbies' fist in the air. Bang! With a muffled sound, a strong burst of energy exploded, wreaking havoc in all directions. The energy shockwaves from the two men's fists spread to the ground below, immediately causing thick cracks to appear on the ground. Newbies remained hovering there steadily after the strike. He did not move at all. As for Evil King, he could not help but retreat 32 feet before he could stabilize himself. It was already clear who was stronger between the two of them. Newbies was an ancient beast, so his battle prowess was extremely great. Coupled with the fact that he had absorbed the essence of a Class 8 magical beast, he was like a tiger that had grown wings. His current battle prowess was no weaker than regular Holy Emperor experts. Even if he encountered a first heavenly layer Holy Emperor, he would not necessarily be able to defeat them. There were very few 9th heavenly layer saint rulers who could match him. Diablo swung his slightly numb right arm and said with a deep voice, "You really are very strong, but you're still only at the peak of the 14 star. You're at the same level as me. It's very difficult to tell who will live until the very end. Now, I'll show you my true strength." An even more tremendous presence radiated from Diablo before charging toward Newbies with an unstoppable force. He began to engage in a great battle with Newbies. 3 more people flew over from the direction of Gas City. In the end, they stopped a few kilometers away and watched from afar. The 3 of them were the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe and the 2 other protector elders. They did not interfere with the grievances between Jinshin's group and Diablo. The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe all revealed extremely ugly expressions as they watched Newbies fight Diablo. They had never thought that Newbies would be so powerful, where he could actually fight the renowned Diablo to a standstill and even gain the upper hand. Jinshin glanced at the 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe and did not pay too much attention to them. The 3 of them were only at the 3rd and 4th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler, so they were nothing in his eyes. However, the patriarch of the Dal tribe was unable to remain as calm as Jinshin. He stared at the 3 experts cautiously and said, "Esteemed warriors, be careful of their sudden attacks. Don't worry, I'm here. They won't be able to do anything," Jinshin said confidently. The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe stared closely at the 2 people in battle. The light in their eyes flickered. One of the guardian elders said telepathically, "Chief, this evil king has already made an enemy of the experts invited by the chief of the Dal tribe. If we take this opportunity to help the evil king, we might be able to temporarily draw him to our side and then deal with the Dal tribe together with him." That makes sense. Patriarch, why don't we go assist Diablo right now? Diablo wants the divine water of the world, while we want the spirit vein of the Dal tribe. I think Diablo will be extremely willing to work with us, another protector elder added. The patriarch of the Menghuang tribe hesitated before gently shaking his head. "Let's wait first. We don't know the strength of the other person right now. We might not be his opponent, even if we work together. At the same time, there's also the patriarch of the Dal tribe, who's already at the 13th star. We might not be able to gain anything from clashing with him rashly." Suddenly, over a dozen people flew over from the direction of Garth City. They were in horrible shape, and their faces were pale. Blood dripped from the corner of their mouths. They were already heavily injured. Behind them, two old men fought as they retreated in the air. They were both saint rulers, and every time they clashed, they would erupt with powerful ripples of energy. "Elder, leave quickly. Don't worry about us." Among the dozen or so fleeing people in front, a rather beautiful woman in a blue robe opened her mouth and shouted loudly. Her mournful voice was full of pleading. Jinshin's eyes immediately narrowed when he heard the woman's voice from afar. He suddenly turned his head to look at the woman, and a sliver of surprise appeared in his eyes. "Kaya, I'll hold him off. You guys hurry up and leave." "Leave quickly," the old man with short blue hair growled. He was nowhere near as strong as his opponent, so he had already become heavily injured after just clashing for a short while. "Ha! None of you from the Kaler tribe can escape today. 100 years ago, that old man of your tribe almost killed me. Today I, old man, will use the blood of that old man's clansmen to take revenge for what happened back then." The black-robed old man in the back laughed aloud. His face was filled with cruelty as he struck the chest of the elder with a palm strike filled with tremendous energy. Spurt! The elder vomited a mouthful of blood. His face became sheet white in a single moment, devoid of any color. He could no longer maintain his levitation and fell toward the ground. "Ha ha! I'll deal with this old one first, and then I'll kill you young ones." The black-robed old man murderously chased after the elder, who had fallen to the ground. He mercilessly swung his palm toward the elder's head with powerful ripples of energy. Swish! Chapter 870. The black-robed old man immediately became surprised when he sensed the power of the sword chi. His instincts told him that he would definitely become heavily injured if he was struck by the sword chi. The black-robed old man no longer cared about killing the elder of the Kaler tribe. He forcefully pulled back his hand that was originally aimed at the elder and threw a punch at the sword chi in the distance as hard as he could. The black-robed old man threw a fist that was a meter wide and completely condensed from energy. It collided with the sword chi with violent ripples of energy. Boom! The huge fist collided with the sword chi and immediately erupted with a great boom. Violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, blowing Kaya and the guards away. However, the power of the sword chi had completely exceeded the black-robed old man's expectations. The sword chi did not disperse. Instead, it passed through the violent energy and shot toward the black-robed old man. However, the sword chi had become much weaker after being weakened by the previous attack. The black-robed old man's strength had reached the 14th star, which was equivalent to the 6th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. He suddenly became extremely stern when he saw the sword chi shoot toward him without slowing down at all. He bellowed out, and surging energy surged out. He sent another full-powered strike toward the sword chi. Following a violent explosion, the sword chi was finally dispersed when it was only 30 meters away from the black-robed elder. The powerful force affected the black-robed elder, causing his body to tremble violently. The black-robed old man was shocked. He glared in the direction where the sword chi had come from, wanting to see just who possessed such great strength. Even if the person was not at the peak of the 14th star, they were not far from it. A young man with long black hair and a white robe was hovering in the sky in the distance, holding a long sword that emitted a black light. The black-robed old man's eyes suddenly narrowed when he saw the young man. He even had the misconception that the young man was not a person, but a sword that radiated with surging sword chi, a sword that stood between the heavens and the earth. "Warrior, who are you? What grievances do we have? Why have you suddenly attacked me?" The black-robed old man growled. His complexion was very ugly. He glanced at Xiao Wang and newbies who were engaged in an intense battle. He could tell with a single glance that the two of them were far, far more powerful than him. They had probably truly reached the peak of the 14th star. Jianshun glanced at the black-robed old man coldly before flying toward Kaya. He said, "Miss Kaya, are you fine?" Kaya looked at Jianshun with a pale face. When she recognized Jianshun, surprise immediately filled her eyes. "Warrior, it's actually you." Jianshun smiled. Miss Kea, looks like you've run into some trouble. Fortunately, you ran into me, or you would have been in danger. At this moment, the 12 guards beside Kea also recognized Jianshan. When they thought about how Jianshan had repelled the powerful black-robed old man all by himself, all of them immediately became surprised. They had never thought that the poor person who did not even have to pay the entrance fee half a month ago would actually be such a terrifying expert. The 12 guards were extremely shocked. Thank you for saving me, warrior. Kea will definitely repay you in the future, Kea said gratefully. Her voice was rather weak. She was already heavily injured. She was not injured by the black-robed old man, but by the shockwaves of energy from the battle between the two saint rulers. You're too polite, Miss Kea. Half a month ago, I was indebted to Miss Kea, so just treat this as me repaying your kindness. Jianshan faintly smiled. The black-robed old man's heart immediately sank when he saw Jianshan walking with the people of the Kalar tribe and how they seemed to have a very special relationship. He understood that it would be impossible for him to take revenge today if the Kalar tribe obtained the assistance of such an expert. The old man from the Kalar tribe who had been injured by the black-robed old man rejoiced. He endured his injuries and struggled to his feet. He called out, "Warrior, please help our Kalar tribe kill this person. Our Kalar tribe will definitely reward you handsomely." The black-robed old man no longer cared about revenge when he heard that. He already considered retreating, but he still asked, "May I ask what your relationship is with the Kalar tribe?" Jianshan ignored the black-robed old man. He said to Kea, "Miss Kea, since he's your enemy, I'll repay your kindness with his head." With that, Jianshan charged toward the black-robed old man with the dragon-slaying sword. Undisguised killing intent filled his eyes. The black-robed old man's expression drastically changed. Just when he was about to retreat, 3 more powerful presences suddenly appeared. The 3 experts of the Mengwang clan moved at the same time, directly charging toward Jianshan. "Warrior, it'll be difficult for you to escape today. Why don't the 3 of us work together to kill this person?" The current patriarch of the Mengwang clan called out to the black-robed old man. A gleam of light flashed through the black-robed old man's eyes when he heard that. His thoughts of retreating immediately vanished, and a cruel smile appeared on his face once again. He said, "That's fine. Since you don't plan on sparing me, I can only work with the 3 of us to deal with you. Since you dare to ruin my plans, hey Batian, will make you die here today. Warrior, be careful." Kaya's expression immediately changed when she saw the sudden appearance of 3 more people opposing Jianshan. She could not help but cry out as she began to worry for Jianshan. Although she had not known Jianshan for long, he was still someone on her side. Whether or not she and her elders could leave this place alive all depended on Jianshan. Jianshan's face was filled with disdain. He mocked, "Then let's see just who will die here today. People of the Mengwang clan, I originally wanted to let you live a few more days, but since you want to die, don't blame me for what happens next." How arrogant! The 3 experts of the Mengwang clan were enraged. They all pulled out their weapons and began to fight Jianshan. "You are just a grain of rice, yet you dare to compete with the moon?" The dragon-slaying sword in Jianshan's hand turned into a blur as it stabbed out with lightning speed. In the blink of an eye, he had stabbed out 3 times, knocking away the weapons of the 3 experts. The great force from the collision of the weapons made their arms go numb. The 3 experts of the Mengwang clan were shocked. Although they knew that Jianshan was definitely extremely powerful, they thought that they would be able to put up a fight even against a 14-star warrior if they worked together. However, they had never thought that Jianshan would be so powerful. In just a single exchange, the 3 of them were at a complete disadvantage. In particular, the great force that came from the dragon-slaying sword made them feel slightly irresistible. Asterisk swish. Swish. At this moment, another 3 sword shadows suddenly appeared. The king armament, Dragon Slayer's sword, left behind a series of afterimages as it stabbed towards the 3 experts from the Meng Baron tribe. This time, it directly pierced through their chests, giving them no time to react. The second layer of the chaotic body was equivalent to a 7th heavenly layer saint ruler. With a ruler armament, his battle prowess was equivalent to a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler. The 3 experts of the Menghuang clan were all below the 5th heavenly layer of saint ruler, so they were unable to fight back against Jianshan at all. The 3 experts from the Menghuang tribe all grunted. They immediately retreated as shock filled their faces. They no longer dared to continue fighting Jianshan. At the same time, they fled into the distance, quickly disappearing into the distance. I originally wanted to kill the 3 of you, but I changed my mind. You can go. I'll let you live for a few more days. Jianshan did not stop them from leaving. He had shown the people of the Menghuang clan how powerful he was this time. He believed that they would not dare to attack the Dal clan anytime soon, which just happened to give him precious time to fight for the map fragment of the 8 wastelands. The black-robed old man immediately became frightened out of his wits when he saw Jianshan kill the 3 experts of the Menghuang clan in a single move. He hurriedly braked in the air and no longer had the courage to fight. He immediately turned around and flew into the distance in an attempt to flee. You better stay behind. I'll let them go, but I won't let you go, Jianshan said indifferently, but his voice clearly reached the black-robed old man's ears. It made his heart tremble, and he fled even faster. Jianshan did not give the black-robed old man the opportunity to use spatial force to escape. He used the illusory flash and appeared before the black-robed old man like a ghost. With a jolt of his arm, the dragon-slaying sword in his hand turned into countless blurs that enveloped the black-robed old man. The blurs overlapped, blotting out the sun and sealing off all of the old man's paths of retreat. Ark! The black-robed old man's miserable cries rang out from the sword's silhouettes that blotted out the sky. When the sword's silhouettes dispersed, the black-robed old man's appearance had undergone an earth-shattering change in just a few breaths of time. He was covered in blood, and his body was covered in countless wounds. He was in an extremely miserable state. Spare me, warrior. Spare me. I will never provoke the people of the Kaler tribe again. Please spare my life. The black-robed old man had truly experienced Jianshan's terror. He did not believe that he could escape today, so he immediately began to beg for mercy. Jianshan's eyes were cold. He did not waver at all. The years of slaughter had gradually allowed him to develop a heart that treated his enemies coldly and emotionlessly. That was the only way he had the right to survive in this world. Being merciful to his enemies was just asking for death. Killing intent flashed through Jianshan's eyes. He swung his dragon-slaying sword and beheaded the old man. Chapter 871. Jianshan removed the old man's ring before bringing his head to Kaya's side. He faintly smiled. Miss Kaya, I've already taken this person's head for you. Just treat it as repayment for the 100 crystal coins you lent me. Kaya and the 12 guards behind him all stared at Jianshan with their mouths agape. Their hearts churned as they struggled to remain calm. A powerful 14-star Poseidon warrior had been slain so easily by Jianshan, and he had even taken his head. Kaya and the others were in disbelief, unable to return to their senses for quite some time. They were truly unable to accept what had just happened. Is this really the expert who didn't even have to pay the entrance fee back then? At that moment, the same thought appeared in the minds of Kaya and the 12 guards. None of them dared to connect the Jianshan who could so easily slay a 14-star Poseidon warrior with that person back then. The elder of the Kaler tribe was extremely shocked when he saw the headless body. The black-robed old man had already reached the level of a 14th-star Poseidon warrior. Although he had not reached the peak, he was still extremely powerful, yet Jianshan had actually slain him so easily. The elder was extremely shocked by his strength. Peak 14th star. That person has definitely reached the peak of the 14th star. He might even be a 15th-star expert, thought the elder. Soon after, his heart was ravished with joy. If the Kaler tribe could rope in such a powerful expert, it would be a joyous occasion for their tribe. The elder wiped away the blood from the corner of his mouth and dragged his heavily injured body before Jianshan. He gratefully said, "Thank you for your assistance, warrior. Our tribe will never forget your great kindness." Please come to our tribe as a guest so that we can properly thank you. It's nothing worth mentioning. Last time, Miss Kea even helped us once, so it's only natural for me to help Miss Kea this time. Elder, I still have matters to attend to, so I can't go to your tribe. Jianshan declined politely. He spoke extremely politely. The elder was troubled. Clearly, he wanted to invite Jianshan to his tribe as a guest very much, but due to Jianshan's strength, he was afraid of angering Jianshan. That would not be worth it. Silly girl, what are you standing around for? Why don't you hurry up and invite this warrior to our tribe as a guest? A thought flashed through the elder's head, and he immediately sent a message to Kea. Kea hesitated. Her relationship with Jianshan was extremely ordinary, and she practiced innate spirit opening. She could clearly sense that Jianshan only treated her as an extremely ordinary passerby and had no other intentions. He had only helped her this time to repay her kindness of giving him 100 crystal coins. He had no other intentions. Farewell, Miss Kea. Jianshan clasped his hands at Kea before turning around and leaving. The elder beside her panicked when he saw how Kea did not follow his suggestion to keep Jianshan. He urged her again, "Silly girl, don't just stand there. Hurry up and stop this warrior." The elder's tone was filled with urgency. He would not let go of such a good opportunity to rope in such a strong person. Kea gently shook her head. She did not do anything. She knew that even if she tried to keep him, it would be pointless. Sigh. The elder of the Kaler tribe sighed in disappointment. His face was filled with regret and anger. Newbies and the evil king fought as they retreated. They had already moved several dozen kilometers away. Jianshan stared at the two of them who were still engaged in an intense battle several dozen kilometers away. He said, "Newbies, don't waste too much time here." "Haha, I know. Kid, your great-grandpa Newbies won't play with you anymore." Newbies' laughter rang out from afar. He immediately struck out with his full strength, landing a few heavy blows on the evil king's body and sending him flying while vomiting blood. "Kid, you better go back and come find me when you break through to the 15th star. Otherwise, you won't be the great Newbie's opponent." Newbie's arrogant voice shook up the surrounding space and spread into the distance. He no longer paid any attention to the injured evil king and flew toward Jianshan. "I didn't waste much time, did I?" Newbies arrived before Jianshan and gently smiled. He did not feel pressured at all in his battle against the evil king. He did not use his full strength at all. As a golden-striped silver snake of ancient times, Newbie's most powerful aspect was not his battle prowess. Instead, it was his poison that was renowned across the Tian-Yuan continent. "They've almost escaped my range of observation. We can't waste any more time," Jianshan said before arriving before the patriarch of the Dal tribe with Newbies. He said, "Patriarch, let's go." "Ah, what? Oh, why, yes." The patriarch of the Dal tribe roused back to his senses and nodded subconsciously. His face was filled with extreme shock and disbelief. After the battle, he basically understood the strength of Newbies and Jianshan. Newbies had fought against the renowned evil king alone and had easily heavily injured him without being injured at all. On the other hand, Jianshan had fought against 4 saint rulers all by himself. A 14th-star Poseidon warrior had been obliterated in just a few clashes while the other 3 13th-star experts had fled with heavy injuries. The patriarch of the Dal tribe felt his blood boil when he saw this. With such experts supporting him, what did he have to fear for a mere Menghuang tribe? Jianshan, Hongli, and Newbies left while Kea's group remained where they were. They stared blankly in the direction that Jianshan had disappeared in. There's actually 2 of them. Who's the other person? Even the renowned evil king isn't his opponent. Is he the 15th star Poseidon warrior? The elder of the Kaler tribe murmured. He felt even more pity inside. If he could rope in the 2 experts, the strength of his tribe would increase drastically. Jianshan, Hongli, and Newbies stopped after traveling several hundred kilometers. He then turned to the patriarch of the Dal tribe and said, "Patriarch, the 2 of us have important matters to attend to, so we'll be leaving for a while. We'll come back once we're done with our matters." How about we help you deal with the Menghuang tribe? After a moment of thought, the patriarch replied, the 3 experts of the Menghuang tribe have already been heavily injured. They probably won't be able to deal with our doll tribe in a short amount of time. All right then, warriors, go deal with your matters first. I'll wait for your return. The patriarch seemed like a brutish man on the surface, but he was not stupid at all. Instead, he had a sharp mind. He could tell with a single glance that Jianshan and newbies wanted the fragment of the 8 wastelands. After bidding farewell to the patriarch, Jianshan and newbies did not hesitate at all. They shot off into the distance with lightning-like speed as a blur, vanishing in the blink of an eye. Several thousand kilometers away, Hao Jia was escorting the fragment of the 8 wastelands to the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall with Gade, a 16th-star expert. As the Holy Emperor was unable to rip open space in the territory of the sea race, they could only fly. At this moment, a strange cry rang out in the surroundings. Keek, you better leave the last fragment of the 8 wastelands behind. Yin Feng will be taking it. With that, a burly middle-aged man appeared out of nowhere. He just happened to block the path of Hao Jia's group. At the same time, the surrounding space froze, as if it had been frozen into a tough block of ice in a single moment. It trapped many of Hao Jia's experts, preventing them from moving at all. Yao Jun Yin Feng. The expressions of many of Hao Jia's experts suddenly changed. Their gazes towards Yao Jun Yin Feng were filled with deep fear and dread. Gade stepped out from the crowd and sneered at Yao Jun Yin Feng. Yin Feng, you've only been active in the Poseidon Hall. Why have you come to the territory of our Serpent God Hall for no reason? At the same time, the divine hall of the 8 wastelands is enveloped by a powerful formation. Once someone reaches the 15th star, they won't be able to enter. You're all alone, so what use do you have for the fragment of the map? It's not like you can enter. Gade's body trembled slightly as he said that. The space in the surroundings that had frozen due to Yin Feng's appearance immediately shattered and returned to normal. Yao Jun Yin Feng chuckled aloud. That's right. I really can't enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands, but someone has given me an offer that I can't refuse. It's difficult for me to not interfere with the matter of the 8 wastelands, even if I want to. I never thought that the proud and solitary Yao Jun Yin Feng would work for someone. However, you're probably not the old man's opponent with your strength that has just reached the peak of the 15th star, said Jialan. Senior Jialan, I'm not the only one involved in this matter. I think there are many other people aside from me who are interested in the fragment of the 8 wastelands. Yin Feng laughed out loud. Yin Feng laughed. Then he looked around and said, everyone stop hiding. Come out. With that, over 100 figures suddenly appeared in the empty space in the surroundings. Every single one of them was a saint ruler, and there were even Holy Emperor-level experts. Hao Jia's people clearly knew that they were being followed, so they were not surprised by their appearance at all. Standing at the very front, Jia Lan scanned the surroundings coldly and said, everyone, Hao Jia purchased the fragment of the 8 wastelands in an auction. If you want to steal it, don't be so quick. Old man is merciless. Gade, as the city lord of the Serpent God Hall, why are you helping Hao Jia the Heaven Spirit Hall? A Holy Emperor Old Man asked with a deep voice. Chapter 872. Gade was the most powerful person present, but there were many other Holy Emperor-level experts in the surroundings. As a result, his threat was not enough to scare off the people who wanted to steal the 8 wastelands. Gade, do you really think that you and Hao Jia's people can stop all of us? Yao Jun Yin Feng asked. Everyone, you should all belong to different organizations. Right now, there's only one piece of the map, yet there are so many of you. I wonder, how will you split it once it ends up in your hands? An old man from Hao Jia's group spoke. He smiled and spoke nonchalantly. He was an ancestor of Hao Jia's group. He was also a holy emperor, but he was only at the 15th star. His nonchalant words immediately made many people frown. This was clearly an extremely difficult problem to solve. None of them wanted to risk their lives only to end up benefiting someone else. Seeing how everyone began to waver, a holy emperor immediately called out, "He's trying to drive a wedge between us." His intentions are obvious. Don't fall for his trap. Once we get the 8 wastelands, we'll discuss how to split it, or we can just split the map into several pieces, one for each person. All right, that's a pretty good idea. It's settled then. Immediately, many people agreed to the plan and agreed. Yao Junyan Feng licked his lips and chuckled. If that's the case, there's no need for us to waste time here. Everyone, let's go together and take the map fragment. Yao Jun was the most powerful person there aside from Gardner. As soon as he finished speaking, he charged at Gardner first. At the same time, he called out, "Fellow 15-star cultivators, come with me to deal with this old bastard Gardner. Leave the people of the Hao family to the others." Immediately, several Holy Emperor experts flew out from the crowd and joined forces with Yao Junyan Feng against Gade. As soon as the Holy Emperor experts clashed, the violent shockwaves swept through the surroundings, causing mountains to collapse and the ground to crack. The entire world shook violently. There was a Holy Emperor in Hao Jia's group as well. He led over 20 experts from his clan and fought against over 100 experts. On the other hand, the Holy Emperor in Hao Jia's group was kept busy by the last of the Holy Emperor who fought for the map fragment of the 8 wastelands. As a result, Hao Jia's group was surrounded by over 100 experts of the same level. With such a huge difference in strength, they were at a disadvantage as soon as they clashed. They were surrounded and attacked by enemies several times their number. However, the people who fought for the map fragment of the 8 wastelands did not belong to the same organization, so they did not trust each other. As a result, the people around Hao Jia were also on guard against the people around them, preventing them from launching sneak attacks. As a result, their strength was greatly reduced, and they were unable to use their full strength. Although they firmly suppressed Hao Jia's group, no one dared to take the risk of exposing themselves and attacking too heavily. On the other side, the battle between Gade and the Holy Emperor had reached a white-hot level. Gade did not have so many concerns. He used all of his strength without holding back and fought against 5 experts of the same level as him. Their battle shook the surroundings. They fought from the ground to the sky, and then from the sky to the ground. They retreated as they fought, and they were already 100 kilometers away. Violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc where they fought, enveloping the surrounding space. It had basically become a region of death, where even saint rulers dared not to set foot in. The 5 holy emperors who fought against Gade were all at the 3rd to 4th heavenly layer, but they did not dare to use their full strength due to their ulterior motives. They did not want to exhaust themselves too much or become injured, which would be the best opportunity for them to fight for the map fragment of the 8 wastelands. As a result, the 5 of them only managed to fight to a draw with Gade, a 6th heavenly layer holy emperor. They even seemed to be at a disadvantage. Arg, arg, a few miserable cries rang out. The weaker saint rulers of Hao Jia's group all vomited blood as they collapsed. They were heavily injured. Their withdrawal from the battle immediately increased the pressure on the remaining powerhouses of the Hao clan. It was becoming more and more difficult for them to defend. If it weren't for the fact that both sides were on guard against each other, the 20 or so people of the Hao clan would have collapsed long ago. At this moment, Jianshan and newbies concealed their presences 1,000 kilometers away. They hid behind a mountain peak. Although they could not see the battle up ahead due to the distance, they could clearly sense the violent ripples of energy. It's too far away. We can't see anything, and we don't know what the situation is like. Jianshan, let's get closer, newbies suggested. Jianshan extended his hand to stop newbies. There's no need. We can't get too close. Let's be careful together. I've always been monitoring what's happening up ahead, and I've discovered that there are still hidden experts who have yet to take action. We can't get too close. I can sense several presences of the Holy Emperor, and one of them is no weaker than by Yifei and Ling Yuanzi. Jianshan, do you think we can take the 8 wastelands with our current strength? Newbies became rather worried. Several presences of the Holy Emperor had appeared up ahead, so he was not confident at all. We can only take the 8 wastelands with wits, not force. It'll just depend on whether we have the opportunity or not. Fortunately, We have an advantage that no one else has, Jianshun said. What kind of advantage? Newbies was curious. Jianshun smiled mysteriously. You'll know in the future. All right, spit out the water spirit pearl. If we go fight for the map fragment later, we'll expose the presences of us outsiders. Once we get the map fragment, we'll find a safe place and use the water spirit pearl to hide our presences. That way, we'll be able to confuse them and make them focus on searching for outsiders, ignoring their own clansmen. It'll give us an extra layer of cover. Newbies' eyes lit up. Without any hesitation, he immediately spat out the water spirit pearl that concealed the presences of the outsiders and placed it in his space ring. Jianshun also spat out the water spirit pearl and the holy water into the artifact space. To him, the space ring was not particularly safe, as it could be stolen at any time. Only by placing it in the artifact space could he ensure that nothing would happen, unless the artifact betrayed him or he died. Let's wait here. When it's time to move out, I'll let you know, Jianshun said. The battle lasted for only 10 minutes, and several more of Hao Jia's people were heavily injured. Their numbers had been reduced from over 20 to a dozen, and 3 of them had died on the spot. Only their souls had managed to escape. The remaining dozen or so people were still bitterly holding on, but they were covered in blood. They would not be able to last much longer. The situation was becoming more and more disadvantageous for them. Hao Jia's holy emperor became extremely stern as well. He had already anticipated that they would be robbed on the way here. He had thought that with Senior Gade's assistance, they would be able to ensure that nothing would happen. However, he had never expected so many people to come. Just the number of people who had reached the level of Holy Emperor had come. We can't let this drag on any longer. Hao Jia's Holy Emperor thought. Determination flashed through his eyes as he knocked back his opponent with a single strike. A tremendous presence immediately radiated from his body as he called out, sky-destroying 3 palms. A huge hand suddenly formed 100 meters in the air. It radiated with a devastating pressure. With the appearance of the hand, the laws of the world seemed to be greatly affected, becoming chaotic. All the saint rulers and even the Holy Emperor were unable to use spatial force. The hand was completely condensed from the physical force of the world. It possessed a tremendous power. Its appearance caused the space in a radius of several dozen kilometers to freeze. Even the Holy Emperor fighting against Hao Jia's Holy Emperor was greatly affected. As if he had fallen into a swamp, his movements became sluggish. A Tian-level saint technique. The Holy Emperor's face drastically changed. He became rather pale in a single moment. A Tian-level saint technique was equivalent to a saint-tier battle skill on the Tian-Yuan continent. It possessed devastating power. Even the Holy Emperor, who had reached the 3rd heavenly layer, had not grasped such a powerful technique. Although saint rulers could comprehend a Tian-level saint technique, grasping it was not that simple. Many Holy Emperor-level experts were unable to grasp a single Tian-level saint technique. As for creating a Tian-level saint technique, it could only be comprehended by someone who was extremely talented in comprehending the mysteries of the world. It would take 10,000 years for someone to do so. Even in Mercenary City on the Tian-Yuan continent, there are only a handful of people who could create a saint-tier battle skill on the same level as a Tian-level saint technique. The huge palm seal sealed off the space within a radius of tens of miles. Then, it descended from the sky with a majestic aura, silently merging into the ground and disappearing. Over 100 saint rulers and a holy emperor disappeared along with the hand. No one knew where they were. Only Hao Jia and a dozen saint rulers hovered in the air in a daze as they stared at the ground below them. A bottomless pit of unknown depth had appeared below them. It was palm-sized and enveloped a radius of several kilometers. The Holy Emperor and over 100 saint rulers had all been slammed into the ground. Ark! A furious roar rang out from the bottomless pit. The Holy Emperor did not die after taking on the attack of the Tian-level saint technique. Afterward, the presences of over 100 saint rulers leaked out from the bottomless pit. The power of the Tian-level saint technique had been taken on by the Holy Emperor and over 100 saint rulers at the same time. Not a single one of them had died. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia's eyes were cold. He raised his hand, and immediately, another huge hand condensed 100 meters in the air. It slammed toward the ground with lightning speed, causing the ground to shake violently. Chapter 873. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia's heaven-destroying 3 palms basically landed at the same time, striking the same spot. After the 3 palms, the presence in the bottomless pit completely vanished. The fate of over 100 saint rulers and the Holy Emperor was unknown. A saint-tier battle skill used by a 7th heavenly layer saint ruler was enough to heavily injure or even directly kill a Holy Emperor. If the user was a Holy Emperor, the power would obviously be much greater than a saint ruler. Even if the saint rulers and the Holy Emperor did not die, they would definitely suffer unimaginable injuries. Gade and the 5 Holy Emperors who had already fought over 100 kilometers away were all shocked when they saw what had happened. Shock filled their faces. Even Gade, who was the strongest among them, had not grasped a single Tian-level saint technique. However, the Holy Emperor of Hao Jia was far weaker than them, yet he had already grasped a powerful Tian-level saint technique. They all found this hard to believe. The Tian-level battle saint technique was not so easy to comprehend. All of them had gone to the divine halls in their territories to comprehend the Tian-level battle saint technique, but without any exception, all of them had failed. The Tian-level battle saint technique was so profound and complicated that even saint kings would struggle to comprehend it. "Ha, old man, I'd like to see just how you'll be able to fight for the 8 wastelands now," Jinshin laughed. The Holy Emperor of Hao Jia had grasped a Tian-level saint technique, greatly increasing their strength. This made Gade feel excited. With that, they would be able to protect the 8 wastelands. The Holy Emperor of Hao Jia sneered as he stared at the bottomless pit created by the heaven-destroying 3 palms. He said, "You will definitely pay a heavy price for stealing from our Hao Jia." The Holy Emperor of Hao Jia looked in the direction of Gade's battle and said, "Senior Gade, I'll help you." "No need. Old man, keep them busy. You take the 8 wastelands and leave quickly," Gade said loudly. Hearing this, the Holy Emperor of Hao Jia hesitated for a while before clasping his hands towards Gade. "Senior Gade, I'll take my leave first. I'll come back another day to thank you for saving me." The Holy Emperor of Hao Jia no longer hesitated and led the remaining experts of the Hao Jia to fly away. Suddenly, a blood-red light flashed and silently passed by the Holy Emperor of Hao Jia. The blood-red light came without any warning, catching the Holy Emperor of Hao Jia off guard. It directly cut off one of his fingers. The pain of losing a limb made the Holy Emperor of Hao Jia groan in pain, but when he saw the cut-off finger, his expression changed greatly, because that finger was where the space ring was. The Holy Emperor of Hao Jia flew into a rage and immediately became like an angry lion. He let out an angry roar and immediately chased after the falling finger, wanting to take back the space ring. The blood-red light flashed again and caught the space ring before the Holy Emperor of Hao Jia could. "Where do you think you're going? Stay here." The Holy Emperor of Hao Jia's eyes turned red and madly chased after the blood-red light. "The 8 wastelands has been taken away." Yao Jun Yunfeng, who was fighting with Gade, let out a cry of alarm. Then, without caring about anything else, he directly gave up on Gade and chased after the blood-red light that had taken the space ring. The other Holy Emperor of Gade and the others also stopped fighting and chased after the blood-red light as fast as they could. The blood-red light carried the space ring and flew for 100 li before stopping. Then, a hunchbacked old woman appeared out of thin air. She grabbed the severed finger of the Holy Emperor of Hao Jia and took the space ring off it. Throwing the severed finger far away, she smiled sinisterly and said in a hoarse voice, "The 8 wastelands is mine. None of you can get it." Before she finished speaking, the old woman's figure flickered slightly, and she turned into a blur and fled. "Stay here." Gardner flew into a rage and threw a punch at the old woman. A massive fist carrying a surging energy shockwave shot towards the old woman like a bolt of lightning. The old woman had already reached the 16th star, but she was only at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. She was slightly weaker than Gade. She quickly turned around and pushed out with her shriveled hands, colliding with the fist of energy that had caught up to her. Along with a violent boom, violent energy shock waves wreaked havoc in the world. After receiving Gardner's punch, not only did the old woman's speed not decrease in the slightest, but she even borrowed the strong rebounding force to flee into the distance at an even faster speed. Right at this moment, a hand as white as mutton fat seemed to appear out of thin air in front of the old woman. With lightning speed, it lightly pressed against the old woman's chest. The old woman had just blocked Gade's attack, so she was caught off guard and forcefully received the palm strike. Spurt! The old woman spat out a mouthful of blood. Her face paled in a single moment. The palm strike was extremely powerful. She was heavily injured as she was caught off guard. The 8 Wastelands map fragment is now mine. A clear and lively voice rang out in the old woman's ears. An alluring woman in an azure dress appeared before the old woman. The space ring that had been in the old woman's hand had already landed on the woman. The woman was also a holy emperor. Her strength was on par with the old woman, at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. However, she gave off a different presence from the people of the sea race. "You're a human expert." The old woman stared at the woman and said with a heavy voice, "I am Qing Yishuan. Thank you for giving me the 8 Wastelands map fragment." The woman giggled. Her smile was very beautiful, like 100 flowers blooming. Afterward, there was a flash of azure light, and Qing Yishuan had already left, fleeing into the distance. The old woman coughed up a mouthful of blood. She stared at Qing Yishuan's departing figure hatefully, but she did not pursue. "I never thought that even one of the 8 human experts, Qing Yishuan, would be involved. She even managed to heavily injure me with a sneak attack. Damn it," the old woman said with great reluctance. Very few people in the sea realm did not know the name Qing Yishuan. Other than the survivors of the sea race, there were magical beasts and humans in the sea realm as well. However, they were extremely few in number. Without any exception, all of them had entered the sea realm as saint rulers and cultivated there, breaking through to the level of Holy Emperor in the end. This was why there were foreign Holy Emperor existences in the sea realm. 8 of the human Holy Emperor were the most famous. They were all 16th star Poseidon warriors, or Holy Emperor at the 5th heavenly layer at the very least. Qing Yishuan just happened to be one of them. Behind her, Gade and the 5 other Holy Emperors shot past the old woman as a blur, pursuing Qing Yishuan. "Please rest for a while." An ancient voice rang out. An aged voice resounded from the heaven and earth. 2 white-robed old men with white hair and ruddy complexions suddenly appeared. They blocked the path of Jialan and the others. These 2 old men were also one of the 8 great experts of the human race. "Anyone who gets in my way will die." Jialan furiously roared out as he engaged in a great battle with one of the human experts. The other human expert blocked the other 5 Saint Kings all by himself. Even though the 2 of them were at a disadvantage, they only wanted to buy some time and not engage in a battle to the death. Qing Yishuan finally stopped after running several thousand kilometers with her space ring. She looked back and exhaled deeply. She said softly, "Fortunately, I got 2 helpers, or I really wouldn't have been able to shake them off. Although I've paid quite a price, it's all worth it as long as I can get the 8 Wastelands." As soon as she said that, Qing Yishuan's eyes suddenly narrowed. She abruptly turned her head to the side and saw 2 young men around the age of 20 flying towards her side by side. One of them wore blue robes and was handsome. He gave off an otherworldly presence. The other wore golden robes and had a head of long golden hair. There was an unconcealable arrogance between his brows. They were Jianshan and newbies. "Humans, magical beasts," Qing Yishuan said softly. She recognized Jianshan and newbies with a single glance. Jianshan and newbies directly made their way toward Qing Yishuan. In the end, they stopped 100 meters away from her. Jianshan looked at Qing Yishuan calmly and clasped his hands, Junior Yang Yutian greets Senior. Senior must be fighting for the 8 wastelands. Qing Yishuan's face immediately changed slightly when she heard about the 8 wastelands. A cold light flickered through her eyes as she glared at Jianshan and newbies. She said, "Are you bold enough to take the 8 wastelands from me? Brat, seeing that we're of the same clan, I'll overlook your disrespect earlier. If you know what's good for you, leave this place quickly, or don't blame me for being rude to you." Jianshan smiled faintly. "Senior, you've misunderstood. I've come looking for you this time because I want to ask if you really have the 8 wastelands in your space ring." Qing Yishuan seemed to realize something when she heard that. A gleam of light flashed through her eyes, and she immediately checked the space ring. Her face immediately changed drastically from what she saw. She threw the space ring far away, furiously, and said angrily, "It's actually empty. The space ring has already been in Senior's possession for some time now. Although it's empty, I'm sure the people behind you won't believe Senior's words. They'll definitely think that Senior has hidden the 8 wastelands. Not only did Senior fail to obtain the 8 wastelands, but you've also been misunderstood or even hunted down by the experts of the sea race. Senior's current situation does not seem optimistic." Jianshan smiled faintly. Chapter 874. Qing Yishuan's face paled from anger. She stomped her foot angrily and said, "These bastards from the Hao Jia have actually tricked all of us. Brat, tell me, how did you know the space ring was empty?" A tremendous presence radiated from Qing Yishuan, firmly suppressing Jianshan and newbies. "Senior, the 8 wastelands are still with the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia. He's currently fleeing with the 8 wastelands to the north. If you don't chase after him quickly, you probably won't be able to catch up," Jianshan said. "Why do you know so much? Why should I believe your nonsense?" Qing Yishuan called out as she stared at Jianshan closely. "I've already said what I wanted to say. Whether you believe me or not is up to you, Senior," Jianshan said calmly. The light in Qing Yishuan's eyes flickered. After a moment of hesitation, she chose to believe Jianshan in the end. She turned into a faint blur and flew towards the north. The 8 desolation map fragment was too important. Qing Yishuan had the mindset that she would rather believe it was true than not. "Damn, brat, I'll believe you this time. If I discover that you're lying to me, even if we were the same clan, I, Qing Yishuan, will never let you go. I'll definitely hunt you down to the ends of the world." Qing Yishuan's voice rang out in the air, but she had already vanished. "That's strange. Jianshan, how do you know that the 8 wastelands aren't in the space ring? And how do you know where the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia is? Can your eyes see things from several thousand kilometers away?" Newbies could no longer hold back his curiosity after Qing Yishuan left. Jianshan smiled mysteriously. "Now's not the time to talk about that. Qing Yishuan is too powerful. I hope the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia won't be so weak." However, the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia has grasped a Saint-tier battle skill. It shouldn't be easy for Qing Yishuan to take something from him. "Newbies, let's go. Perhaps the time for us to obtain the 8 wastelands is coming soon." Jianshan and newbies immediately concealed their presences and carefully flew forward. The city lord and the 5 other Holy Emperor from the 8 wastelands were all busy with 2 old men. The 8 Holy Emperor-level experts were still engaged in an intense battle. However, the Hao clan's Saint Emperor with a broken finger was not here. He had disappeared without a trace. The shockwaves from the battle between the 8 Holy Emperors swept over 10,000 kilometers away, attracting all the experts there. A few Saint rulers hovered several dozen kilometers away from the battle, watching from afar. Several thousand kilometers to the north, the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia Saint rulers had already separated himself from the Hao Jia Saint rulers. He flew by himself at full speed, heading toward the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. "The secret of my space ring will be discovered very soon, so I need to get to the Heaven's Spirit Hall as soon as possible. Once I reach the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, I'll be able to ask the Hall Elders to help me fend off the enemies. At that time, no matter how many 16th-star Poseidon warriors there are, they won't be able to pose any threat to me." The Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler, softly murmured. He did not put the 8 wastelands into his space ring. Instead, he kept it with him. At this moment, a tremendous presence rapidly shot over from afar. It chased after the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler, in a straight line. The Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler's face drastically changed. He cried out, "Oh no, it's a 16-star expert. Has he discovered that my space ring is empty so quickly?" The Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler, panicked. He immediately stopped holding back. A faint, red mist surrounded him, immediately increasing his speed drastically. He had already used a secret technique that damaged his vitality to flee. "Old man, you can't escape," a clear voice rang out. The Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler. Qing Yishuan had also used a secret technique to increase her speed, chasing after him with lightning-like speed that completely surpassed the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler. The Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler did not say anything. He gritted his teeth and fled as hard as he could. But no matter how fast he increased his speed, he was unable to pull away from the person behind him. The distance between them closed bit by bit. Very soon, they went from several hundred kilometers to 100 kilometers, and then from 100 kilometers to a few dozen kilometers. "I'll do it." The Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler, stopped fleeing when he realized that he could no longer escape. He hovered in the air with a pale face as a tremendous presence immediately radiated from his body. He seemed like a primordial beast that was slowly awakening from its slumber. Tian level Saint technique, sky-crushing palms. The Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Tier, cried out and used the Saint Tier battle skill again. The world force in the surroundings rapidly surged. The invisible world force actually condensed into a huge, tangible palm above the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Ruler. A tremendous pressure filled the surroundings, locking up the surroundings several dozen kilometers and causing the space there to suddenly freeze. When the azure-robed Qing Yishuan was 5 kilometers away from the Holy Emperor from the Hao Jia, Saint Tier, she was bound by the suddenly frozen space. The powerful presence from the Tian level Saint technique locked onto her tightly. Even with her strength at the 5th heavenly layer, her face could not help but change drastically. Tremendous Saint force surged out from Qing Yishuan's body, immediately shattering the frozen space. However, the quagmire-like space around her still greatly restricted her movements. A faint, azure sword appeared in Qing Yishuan's hand. With a cry, she shot toward the Holy Emperor from Hao Jia as a streak of azure light, attempting to interrupt the Saint Tier battle skill from the Hao Jia Holy Emperor. With the Holy Emperor Hao Jia's strength, he did not need much time to charge up the Saint Tier battle skill. He finished his preparations very quickly. With a flip of his hand, he slammed down. Immediately, the huge palm floating in the sky let out a rumbling sound, bringing with it the power to destroy the world. It slammed down from the sky with a vast and majestic aura. Qing Yishuan's clothes fluttered as her hair danced wildly. She gave up on attacking the Holy Emperor Hao Jia, Saint Tier. She pointed her sword at the sky and shot up as a blur. She planned on forcefully taking on the Saint Tier battle skill with her own strength. She had been completely locked onto by the Saint Tier battle skill, so she was unable to escape. She had no other choice but to take it head-on. Boom! Qing Yishuan's petite body collided with the gigantic hand. Their sizes were completely disproportionate, but a deafening rumble erupted. Violent ripples of energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings, ripping apart space and obliterating the world. It was reduced to darkness. The power of the huge hand did not diminish at all. It pressed down from the sky with an unstoppable force, leaving a bottomless palm print on the ground. The ground trembled as Qing Yishuan was pressed into the ground by the huge hand. But very soon, she flew out of the ground in her azure clothes. Powerful and surging azure, Saint force, permeated her body as terrifying ripples of energy caused the surrounding space to tremble. Even with her strength at the 5th heavenly layer as the Holy Emperor, Qing Yishuan was unable to remain unscathed after forcefully taking on the Saint-Tier battle skill. Her hair was disheveled and her face was rather pale. Her clothes were rather disheveled as well. She was in a horrible shape. Boom! A great rumble rang out from the sky as the second palm pressed down. It was even more powerful than the first. Qing Yishuan resisted as hard as she could, but she was still not its opponent. She was struck into the ground once again. Blood flowed from the corner of her lips as her face was pale. She was quite heavily injured. Afterwards, the third palm followed. It was the most powerful, enough to destroy space and make it collapse. Spurt. Qing Yishuan vomited blood after forcefully taking on the attack. Her face was pale and her hair was disheveled. She was in a horrible shape, heavily injured. Using 2 heaven-level saint techniques in a row took a toll on the Hao family saint emperor. His face was pale and he was very weak. After using the 3 palms, the holy emperor Hao Jia no longer cared about the outcome. He turned around and fled into the distance. A surging sword chi appeared from behind, and Qing Yishuan flew out from the ground in a horrible shape. She charged toward the holy emperor Hao Jia as hard as she could. Although she was heavily injured, she was still a supreme expert at the 5th heavenly layer after all. Her life force was extremely great, so she still retained a lot of battle prowess. "Leave behind the 8 wastelands, and I'll spare your life," Qing Yishuan called out. She began to fight the holy emperor Hao Jia very soon. However, the 2 of them failed to sense that 2 saint rulers that they did not take seriously had silently approached 500 kilometers away from them. The 2 of them concealed their presences and hid there carefully. They were Jianshun and newbies. A golden light shot out from Jianshun's forehead and turned into a small, golden tower in his hand in the end. Jianshun turned around and said to newbies, "We need to enter the artifact space. Don't resist." With a flash of white light, Jianshun and newbies vanished. They had been sucked away by the power of the saint artifact. After sucking away the 2 of them, the saint artifact plunged into the ground and traveled to the battlefield underground. Qing Yishuan and the holy emperor Hao Jia fought in the air. They were locked in a stalemate. If Qing Yishuan was at her peak condition, she would definitely be able to deal with the holy emperor Hao Jia easily. However, she was heavily injured now. Even though she still retained her great battle prowess, she was nowhere near her peak condition. The 2 of them fought intensely for 10 minutes. The holy emperor Hao Jia's chest was pierced by Qing Yishuan's sword. He immediately vomited blood, and the powerful sword chi tore apart the holy emperor Hao Jia's clothes. Immediately, a foot-wide piece of black fur appeared in the air, fluttering in the wind. It was completely unscathed. The holy emperor Hao Jia's face changed drastically when he saw the black fur. Ignoring his wounds, he reached for the black fur with all his might. However, Qing Yishuan was even faster than him. Her slender fingers turned into a blur as she grabbed the black fur with lightning speed. She immediately became overjoyed and said, "I've finally obtained the 8 Wastelands map fragment." With the map fragment, Qing Yishuan did not stay any longer. She turned around and retreated in an attempt to flee. The holy emperor Hao Jia bellowed out furiously and sent a palm strike at Qing Yishuan's back as hard as he could. Blood sprayed from Qing Yishuan's mouth, and her wounds worsened. Afterwards, she turned the force of the palm strike into momentum and fled even faster into the distance. She no longer wanted to tangle with the holy emperor Hao Jia. "Qing Yishuan, Hao Jia, will never let you go." The holy emperor Hao Jia bellowed out furiously. He was extremely furious. Qing Yishuan fled with a pale face. She wanted to find a safe place to heal as soon as possible. Her current situation was extremely bad. She had not suppressed her wounds in the battle earlier, so they rapidly worsened. They had reached an extremely terrible state. Even an ordinary holy emperor would struggle to deal with them. "Although I'm heavily injured, everything will be worth it if I can obtain the 8 Wastelands map fragment." Qing Yishuan glanced at the black beast hide in her hand as a smile of joy involuntarily appeared on her pale face. Afterwards, she casually hid the Octiterra map fragment in her clothes for safekeeping. She did not put it in her space ring. Chapter 875. Qing Yishuan was startled. She immediately became alert. She swung her sword and stabbed at the golden light that shot up from below. Ding! With a gentle sound, the golden light was knocked away by Qing Yishuan's attack, revealing the original shape of the golden tower. However, the golden tower suddenly began to shine brightly, enveloping a radius of several hundred meters. Even Qing Yishuan was enveloped by the golden light. The Saint artifact used its own power to turn the space within a radius of several hundred meters into its own territory. Although it couldn't completely control everything, it could absorb or release anything that didn't resist within a radius of several hundred meters into the Saint artifact space. The golden-robed newbies left the artifact space under the protection of the Saint artifact's power. He silently appeared behind Qing Yishuan and spat out a mouthful of poisonous gas. The venom of the golden-striped silver snake was ranked 3rd on the world's poison rankings. With its strength as a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler, the venom it spat out could even kill the Holy Emperor. Qing Yishuan was caught off guard and inhaled a mouthful of poisonous gas. She immediately felt dizzy. Oh no, there's poison. Qing Yishuan was surprised. She immediately sensed that someone had suddenly appeared behind her. However, as soon as she reacted, Newbies' hand had already grabbed her back viciously. His fingers stabbed deeply into her body, and a powerful poison surged into her body like an unstoppable flood. Qing Yishuan cried out, and tremendous saint force surged out from her body. She directly knocked Newbies back with supreme strength. Her face was icy cold, and her eyes were filled with heavy, killing intent. She directly attacked Newbies with her sword. Newbies showed no fear and directly engaged in an intense battle with Qing Yishuan. If Qing Yishuan was in peak condition, he might only be able to flee, but not only was she heavily injured now, she had also been poisoned by him. It was difficult for her to use even 50% of her strength, so she was no longer a threat to Newbies. Newbies and Qing Yishuan hurriedly clashed a few times before Newbies' chest was pierced by Qing Yishuan's sword. He was heavily injured while Qing Yishuan was struck by a punch from Newbies, causing her to fly away while vomiting blood. Before Qing Yishuan could stabilize herself, Jianshun silently appeared before her with the help of the Saint artifact. He extended his hand into Qing Yishuan's bosom with lightning-like speed, and immediately, 2 plump and soft balls of flesh entered Jianshun's senses. The bouncy balls of flesh began to press against Jianshun's hand, causing Qing Yishuan's clothes to bulge. As soon as Jianshun's hand reached into Qing Yishuan's bosom, it came into contact with the 8 wastelands. Without any hesitation, he immediately reached out and gripped the 8 wastelands tightly. The feeling in his hand told Jianshun that he had not only grabbed the 8 wastelands, but also a large clump of smooth, tender flesh and a piece of cloth. Arg! Qing Yishuan could not help but cry out. Her eyes widened as she stared at the hand that had reached into her bosom in a daze. Disbelief filled her face. After becoming stunned, Qing Yishuan immediately returned to her senses. Her slightly reddened face was immediately filled with anger as she shrieked, "You pervert!" Due to the close proximity, Qing Yishuan was unable to use her sword. In a moment of desperation, Qing Yishuan directly launched a palm strike at Jianshun. How could a palm strike from a holy emperor at the 5th heavenly layer be underestimated? Even though Qing Yishuan was heavily injured, her strike still exceeded the limits of Jianshun's chaotic body. Spurt! Jianshun immediately vomited blood as he was blown far away. His hand that had reached into Qing Yishuan's bosom had been pulled out as well. Jianshun held the black fragment of the 8 wastelands tightly in his hand. Aside from the fragment of the 8 wastelands, a white doo-doo had also been caught by Jianshun when he was not paying attention. He pulled it out along with the fragment of the 8 wastelands. The faint fragrance and warmth from the doo-doo fluttered in the wind, fluttering wildly as it gave off a faint fragrance. Qing Yishuan's face became bright red when she saw the white doo-doo in Jianshun's hand. However, her eyes burned with fury as killing intent surged from her. "You pervert! I'll cut you to pieces." Qing Yishuan was infuriated. She ignored her wounds and charged at Jianshun with her sword. "Let's go. This woman is far too powerful. She's heavily injured, yet she still possesses such great battle prowess." Newbies arrived beside Jianshun in a flash. He grabbed Jianshun and fled into the distance. At the same time, the golden tower disappeared into Jianshun's forehead as a golden streak of light. "Where do you think you're going? If I don't kill you today, Qing Yishuan, will never stop." Qing Yishuan screamed from behind. She hated Jianshun to the core. "You've already been poisoned by my poison. If you don't suppress it, the poison will spread and you will die to it before you can even catch up to us. I believe you know extremely well just how potent the venom of a golden-striped silver snake is." Newbies turned around and said loudly to Qing Yishuan. He wanted to break free from Qing Yishuan's pursuit. "I'll remember the two of you. In the future, I'll definitely chase you to the ends of the world." Qing Yishuan roared furiously. Qing Yishuan roared out furiously. She did not continue the chase. She stared at the two of them coldly before flying off in another direction. Newbies was right. Her body was in a terrible state. She had been heavily injured before being poisoned. If she did not deal with it, she would die even if she was a holy emperor. Newbies fled as quickly as he could with Jianshun. They only stopped after several tens of thousand kilometers. Afterward, the two of them directly entered the artifact space. Within the artifact space, Jianshun and Newbies recovered very quickly under the treatment of the origin energy of the artifact spirit. They returned to their peak condition. Only now did Jianshun and Newbies finally let out a sigh of relief. Taking something from a holy emperor of the fifth heavenly layer was an extremely risky action. Their lives would have been in danger if they had been careless. "We've finally gotten the 8 wastelands." Jianshun smiled excitedly. Finally, he looked at the 8 wastelands that he had been holding in his hand the entire time. However, he suddenly became stunned and became extremely strange. Previously, due to the urgency of the situation, although he felt that other than the 8 wasteland map fragment, he seemed to have taken out something else, but he didn't pay attention until now. Only now did he realize that other than the 8 wasteland map fragment, there was also a white doo-doo. "Let me see what the 8 wastelands looks like." Newbies also turned his head to look at the 8 wastelands in Jianshun's hand. However, his eyes soon locked onto the white doo-doo, and he immediately became stunned. His mouth widened as disbelief filled his face. Jianshun WW, what is this?" Newbies pointed at the white doo-doo and stuttered. Jianshun raised the item to his eyes and studied it carefully. When he finally confirmed that his eyes were not playing tricks on him, he could not help but bitterly smile. This is a doo-doo." "Jianshun, why you actually pulled off her doo." Newbies was extremely shocked as he stuttered. The situation was urgent back then. In my haste, how could I have noticed something like this? Jianshun smiled bitterly. "Jianshun, you're far too impressive. She's an expert at the 5th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. No wonder she said she would chase us to the ends of the world." Newbies could not help but laugh aloud towards the end. Jianshun smiled bitterly as well as he looked at the white doo-doo in his hand. He carefully placed it into his space ring, planning to return it in the future. He said, "All right, let's not talk about that. Let's take a look at the 8 wastelands first." Newbies immediately became serious when the topic of the 8 wastelands was brought up. He immediately moved closer to Jianshun and studied the 8 wastelands. The 8 wastelands was a piece of black hide that was about a square foot in size. It was extremely tough, where even a holy emperor would find it difficult to destroy it. There were a few blurry patterns carved on it. It was not difficult to tell that it was an incomplete map at a closer look. The 8 wastelands is the map to the divine hall of the 8 wastelands, and it's also the key to the divine hall of the 8 wastelands. "We need to gather enough fragments to complete the map," Newbies said. Jianshun nodded in agreement before putting the 8 wastelands away. He took out a water spirit bead from his space ring and swallowed it. He said, "We can't stay here for long. Let's leave quickly." Newbies nodded. He also took out a water spirit bead from his space ring and swallowed it before leaving the artifact space with Jianchen. Chapter 876. Jianchen and newbies swallowed the water soul pearl and changed their presence to that of the sea race. Afterward, they left the artifact space together. Jianchen and newbies erased their presences and carefully made their way to the doll tribe. At this moment, several tremendous presences appeared from behind. Gade, Yao Junian Feng, and a few others caught up with them with lightning speed. They directly made their way to Jianchen and newbies. Jianchen and newbies immediately became nervous. It was impossible for them to escape from 6 Holy Emperor experts, especially when one of them was at the 6th heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. Stay calm. Don't give yourself away. Jianchen stopped and communicated with newbies secretly. If they fled at a time like this, they would definitely raise the suspicions of the enemy. Gade, Yao Junian Feng, and a few others arrived before Jianchen very soon. They studied Jianchen and newbies and saw that they were only saint rulers, so they did not treat them with any importance. Seniors, may I ask what you need? Jianchen clasped his hands at them and asked politely, Did the two of you see a woman in azure clothes fly by? Yao Junian Feng looked at Jianchen and newbies arrogantly and asked condescendingly. I didn't see him, Jianchen said seriously. A gleam of light flashed through Gade's eyes. He asked, I remember the two of you. Weren't you at the auction house? Why have you appeared here? Yao Junian Feng and the others all looked at Jianchen and newbies. Cold light flickered through their eyes as they became surprised and doubtful. Jianchen and newbies' hearts sank slightly. They had never thought that the great Gade would actually remember 2 juniors that he had only met once. If they did not explain the matter clearly, it would raise suspicions. At a crucial moment like this, even the slightest misunderstanding could lead to death. Senior, soon after we left Gade City, we sensed many experts flying in the same direction. Driven by curiosity, we followed them to see what was going on, which is why we've appeared here. Jianchen made up a random excuse in hopes of getting away with it. With their strength as mere saint rulers, how can they participate in this matter? Yin Feng, let's go find Qing Yishuan quickly. We can't waste time here, a holy emperor at the 3rd heavenly layer said arrogantly. He was very disdainful of Jianchen and newbies. Fair enough. The matter at hand is to find Qing Yishuan. Yao Junian Feng nodded and flew off into the distance. The other 4 holy emperors who were fighting over the 8 wastelands followed closely behind Yao Junian Feng. Although they were not on the same side, they all had the same goal. They planned on gathering everyone's strength to deal with Qing Yishuan. Qing Yishuan was just too powerful, and she had 2 other powerful helpers. If they came across her alone, they would struggle to deal with her. With Yao Junian Feng's departure, Gade did not make things difficult for Jianchen and newbies. He flew off in another direction. Jianchen and newbies finally relaxed as they watched the figures fly off into the distance. Without any hesitation, they immediately flew off in the direction of the doll tribe. When Jianchen and newbies returned to the doll tribe, the news that Qing Yishuan had taken away the 8 wastelands rapidly spread. It reached the entire region of the Serpent God Hall very quickly and caused quite a stir. Many experts of the Sea Realm and a few peak clans who coveted the map began to form groups to search for Qing Yishuan. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia dragged his heavily injured body back to the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Before he could return to his clan, he immediately made his way to the very center of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. A huge, majestic divine hall hovered in the air at the center of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. It radiated with a great pressure that filled the surroundings. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia entered the divine hall without any obstructions before being led to a majestic discussion hall by a guard. An old man in black robes sat high up in the discussion hall. The old man was short, only a meter tall, but his eyes were brimming with vigor. A boundless pressure radiated from his short body, enveloping the entire hall. The old man was one of the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. He was one of the people with the greatest status in the Heaven's Spirit Hall aside from the Hall Master. The Holy Emperor Hao Jia immediately became respectful before the hall elder. He dared not to be arrogant at all. He clasped his hands at the hall elder. How Jia greets the esteemed hall elder. The hall elder stared at the holy emperor Hao Jia calmly and asked, "Why have you come looking for me?" "Esteemed hall elder, I have already successfully bought the incomplete map of the 8 wastelands, but one of the 8 human experts, Qing Yishuan, stole it from me along the way. Qing Yishuan is an outsider, yet she interferes with the matters of the sea race. She has gone too far and cannot be forgiven. Hao Jia, do not have the strength to deal with the human experts, so I hope the esteemed hall elder can help me, Hao Jia, and take back the incomplete map of the 8 wastelands that belongs to me," the holy emperor Hao Jia said angrily. In the world of the Sea Tribe, the 3 great temples had a supreme status and were the supreme rulers of the sea region. At the same time, they had a strong sense of territory. If there were internal conflicts between clans, the 3 great temples would generally not intervene. However, if there were outsiders causing trouble in the sea region, the 3 great temples would definitely not stand idly by. The hall elder closed his eyes in thought and said, "Hao Jia, 5 of the 8 human experts have already pledged their loyalty to the 3 halls, while Qing Yishuan has pledged her loyalty to His Majesty, Poseidon. If my Heaven Spirit Hall moves against Qing Yishuan, it will definitely cause His Majesty, Poseidon, to stop us. It might even lead to conflict. Do you think my Heaven Spirit Hall is willing to take that risk to deal with Qing Yishuan over such a small matter?" "What? Qing Yishuan has already pledged her loyalty to His Majesty, Poseidon? Did she steal the 8 wastelands because of Poseidon's orders?" the holy emperor Hao Jia asked in surprise. The hall elder shook his head. "Don't look into the matter of the 8 wastelands. Now that all 8 fragments have appeared, 3 of them belong to the Hall of Poseidon, 3 to the Serpent God Hall, and 2 to our Heaven Spirit Hall. I think we'll begin searching for the 8 wastelands' divine halls before long. 20 people can enter each fragment. Once we begin searching for the 8 wastelands' divine halls, my Heaven Spirit Hall will personally come forward and discuss with the 2 clans that possess the 8 wastelands' divine halls. We'll get them to give up 20 spots and allow some people who have reached the peak of the 14th star in battle prowess to participate. We'll ensure that the strongest group can enter the divine halls and obtain the greatest benefits." The pale-faced Qing Yishuan currently sat in an underground room within the territory of the Hall of Poseidon. Her face was slightly black, having been poisoned. The venom of the golden-striped silver snake was just too powerful. With her great strength, she could only barely suppress the venom within her body. She was unable to force it out. Before Qing Yishuan sat a middle-aged man with a striking appearance. The middle-aged man had a resolute face that had weathered many hardships, and he naturally radiated with the dignified presence of someone who had been in a high position for a long time. "You're quite injured. Looks like there are quite a few experts fighting for the 8 wastelands, but it's all worth it. If you obtain that item, your strength will increase by a lot. Even if you come across the Holy Emperor of the 9th Heavenly Layer, you won't have to fear him." The middle-aged man smiled as unconcealable joy filled his face. Qing Yishuan sat there with a pale face. She said emotionlessly, "You're probably going to be disappointed. The 8 wastelands isn't with me." The middle-aged man was stunned. He immediately sat up straight and said in surprise, "What? The 8 wastelands isn't with you?" Qing Yishuan's bright eyes immediately became filled with heavy, killing intent. She gritted her teeth and said, "Originally, I'd already taken away the 8 wastelands, but in the final moment, 2 juniors ambushed me while I was heavily injured and stole the 8 wastelands." "Juniors? How strong are they?" The light in the middle-aged man's eyes flickered as he stared at Qing Yishuan closely. "They're not at the Holy Emperor's level." Qing Yishuan's voice was extremely cold. Qing Yishuan's voice was extremely cold. A powerful killing intent and fury radiated from her uncontrollably, causing the temperature in the room to plummet. In her mind, she couldn't help but recall the scene of her 8 desolation map fragment being snatched away, as well as her personal belongings being snatched away. This made her even more furious and murderous. "Qing Yishuan, with your strength, 2 juniors who haven't even reached the level of the Holy Emperor have stolen something from you. The middle-aged man found this rather hard to believe. Qing Yishuan suddenly sat up and stared at the middle-aged man aggressively. She growled, "That's just how it is. It's up to you whether you believe it or not. I'm deeply poisoned. I need to return to the Divine Hall immediately to be detoxified, so I won't keep you company." Qing Yishuan angrily turned around and left in a hurry. Qing Yishuan, according to our agreement, you haven't completed your mission, so I can't give it to you, the middle-aged man said emotionlessly. Qing Yishuan's body paused. Immediately, she disappeared from the secret chamber. She thought in her heart, once my injuries have healed, I will go and take back the 8 Desolation map fragment. I will definitely not let those 2 brats off. I will definitely chase you to the ends of the world. I, Qing Yishuan, swear that I will not rest until I kill you. Qing Yishuan announced very soon after she left. The 8 Wastelands is not on me. It was stolen by 2 saint rulers, a human and a magical beast. As soon as she announced this, it caused an uproar. Qing Yishuan was one of the 8 great human experts famed in the sea realm. Yet 2 saint rulers had actually stolen something from her. Many people found this hard to believe. Even with that being the case, the people searching for the map fragment still paid attention to one thing. Aside from Qing Yishuan, they also searched for the saint rulers of the humans and magical beasts. Basically, whenever they came across a saint ruler, they would stop them and question them regardless of who they were. It made the humans and magical beasts grumble, but there was nothing they could do. Chapter 877. Looking at the pale white faces of the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders, the old patriarch asked with a heavy voice, "Are the 2 experts that the Dao tribe has invited really as powerful as you say? One of them has the ability to fend off the evil king, while the other can defeat the 3 of you working together?" Old patriarch, the 2 experts that the Dao tribe has invited can only be stronger than what we said. Now that they have such powerful reinforcements, what should we do? One of the protector elders asked with a heavy voice. His voice was rather weak, indicating that he was injured. The old patriarch furrowed his brows tightly. He was worried as well. The development of the situation had exceeded his expectations. At this moment, several powerful presences appeared in the distance, heading toward the Menghuang tribe. The sudden appearance of the powerful presences caused the expressions of the people at the top of the tower to change slightly, but that was soon replaced by joy. The current patriarch immediately cried out, "Its son has returned." Son Er's name was Yin Senator. He was the great-grandson of the current patriarch of the Menghuang tribe. He was a cultivation prodigy that only appeared once in 1,000 years. His talent was extraordinary, reaching Saint Ruler in just over 400 years of cultivation, becoming an expert of an area. Afterward, he was favored by the Serpent God Hall and was chosen as an emissary. He even became the disciple of a protector elder. He was greatly valued and had a bright future ahead of him. The status of the entire Menghuang tribe had greatly increased because of him. Some people even predicted that Yin Sun would reach the level of Holy Emperor soon and become a renowned figure in the Sea Realm. Now, Yin Sun had already cultivated in the Serpent God Hall for over 300 years. His strength was even more terrifying than before. Other than the people of the Serpent God Hall, very few people in the outside world knew what level of cultivation Yin Sun had reached. The 4 experts of Menghuang's tribe immediately left the tower and personally went outside to receive him. They were extremely protective of Jensen, a genius junior who had a very high chance of reaching Saint King in the future. They were extremely concerned about him, for figures quickly flew toward the Menghuang tribe from afar. They were 4 youths who wore the same uniform. There was a serpent dragon embroidered on the left side of their chest. This was the symbol of the Poseidon Divine Hall, one of the 3 divine halls of the Sea Realm. Jensen, is that the tribe you were born in? Your seniors seem to have come out to greet you. I'm afraid that only you, Jensen, can enjoy such an honor. A young man with a fish scale mark on his forehead chuckled. His tone carried a hint of flattery. Isn't that obvious? Jansen is a genius in my Serpent God Hall. Even among all the emissaries, his strength ranks among the top. He'll definitely reach the 15th star in the future and gloriously become an elder of my Serpent God Hall. He might even become a Hall Elder that's only second to the Great Hall Master. Another ordinary-looking young man with some patterns on his face also spoke. He did not hide his admiration for Jensen. Jensen was a young man who looked to be in his 20s. He was very handsome. Jensen could not help but show a sliver of pride when he heard the two of them praise him. He said, "You think too highly of me. The 15-star warrior Poseidon is an insurmountable hurdle. It's hard to say whether I'll be able to make it in the future. The position of elder is still an insurmountable distance away from me right now. Jensen, we have an important mission this time. We need to return as soon as possible and give the item to the Hall Elder. We can't stay in your tribe for too long. If something goes wrong, none of us will be able to bear the responsibility," the fourth young man said. The last young man of the four spoke. He was about 30 years old and had a strong back and a bare waist. His face was grim and his tone was unusually cold. Jensen frowned slightly and yelled, "Hey, don't you know about the Hall Elder's orders? I, Jensen, am the captain of this group. You have to listen to me. Since when did you have the right to tell me what to do?" The young man called Dahay immediately fell silent. He silently followed the three of them without saying anything. Jensen arrived at the Mengwang tribe and was warmly welcomed by everyone in the tribe. However, he was invited to the tower by the old chief and the others very soon. Inside the tall tower, the old tribe leader told Yin's son about the threat that the Meng Desolate tribe was currently facing. "What? Great-grandfather, you've been seriously injured? Two guardian elders, you've also been injured? How dare someone bully my Meng Desolate tribe? Doesn't he know that I, Yin's son, am a member of the Meng Desolate tribe? No matter who he is, I, Yin's son, will not let him off easily." Jensen immediately became furious and slammed the table. As an emissary of the Divine Hall, he only feared the peak organizations that had the Holy Emperor. He did not care about the other second-rate or first-rate organizations at all. Fantastic! With the help of Sun and the three emissaries, the two experts that the Dal tribe has invited are no longer a threat. The current chief laughed heartily. For the Mengwang tribe, Jensen's sudden return was like sending charcoal in snowy weather. "Great-grandfather, guardian elders, just you wait. Sun will lead three of my companions to teach the two experts that the Dal tribe invited a lesson. We'll let them know the power of our Mengwang tribe," Jensen said righteously. Good. It is time for our Meng Wild tribe to establish our prestige and warn the other tribes. Let them know how strong our Meng Wild tribe is. Sun wait. The four of us will go with you, the old tribe leader said. Afterward, the four experts of the Mengwang tribe, Jensen, and the other three emissaries immediately left the tribe. They aggressively rushed toward the Dal tribe. At this moment, in the Dal tribe, tens of thousands of kilometers away, Jianshin and newbies were discussing the matter of the Mengwang tribe with the chief. They were completely unaware that the Mengwang tribe had already rushed toward them with murderous intent. "Warriors, the Mengwang tribe probably won't dare to attack our Dal tribe for the time being. Why don't you two stay with us for a few days?" The chief of the Dal tribe was extremely courteous to Jianshin and newbies, worshipping them as if they were gods. "Chief, the two of us have other important matters to attend to. We can't stay here for too long. Since the Mengwang tribe isn't coming, how about this? Tomorrow morning, the two of us will accompany you to the Mengwang tribe and help you completely resolve the problem of the Mengwang tribe," Jianchun said. He had come to the Sea Realm in order to earn more time to increase his strength. He did not want to waste too much time on these miscellaneous matters. Now that the problem of the monster core had been resolved and newbies still had not completely refined Old Snake's essence, all they needed was time. Jianchun would reach the third layer of the chaotic body and become the Holy Emperor, while newbies would become a Class 8 magical beast. The chief of the Dal tribe naturally felt extremely regretful that Jianshin wanted to leave in such a hurry. However, he also knew that his tiny tribe would not be able to keep the two of them, so he agreed, "All right, since the two of you have other important matters to attend to, we'll go to the Menghuang tribe first thing in the morning to deal with them." Since the Menghuang tribe dares to target us, we definitely won't let them go so easily. If it's possible. The chief of the Dal tribe sank into his thoughts as the light in his eyes flickered. He was brimming with ambition. Jianshan knew that the chief of the Dal tribe wanted to use the two of them to devour the Menghuang tribe. He reminded him, "Chief, our mission is only to stop them for you and repel the Menghuang tribe so that they won't be able to pose a threat to your tribe. We can't do anything else for you." A space ring silently appeared in Jinshan's hand. He gently placed it before the chief of the Dal tribe and said, "Chief, there are 2,100,000 great-grade crystal coins in there. We're returning it to you. Please accept it." Jianshan had obtained the crystal coins from the black-robed old man he had killed to save Kea outside Gas City. Jianshan and newbies went to rest after discussing the matter with the chief of the Dal tribe. They planned to go to the Menghuang tribe the next morning. Although there was no night or day in the Sea Realm, they had a unique way of keeping track of time, ensuring that the time there was consistent with the outside world. After returning to his residence, Jianshan directly entered the artifact space to visit the White Tiger. The White Tiger had shrunk to the size of a cat and was sleeping in the divine hall created by the artifact spirit. A large pile of 1,000-year-old or even 10,000-year-old heavenly resources was placed nearby. During this time, Jianshan did not let the White Tiger go out. Instead, he let it consume heavenly resources to increase its strength. After all, it was still far too weak right now. It was unable to deal with the dangers outside at all. At the same time, there were far more experts in the Sea Realm than on the Tian Yuan continent. In 5 years, Shao White Tiger has already reached the 5th cycle of Heaven's Saint Master. That's equivalent to a minor increase in strength every year. With this speed, it'll probably reach Class 7 in another year. At that time, it'll even be able to flee from 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers. Jianshan murmured to himself as he stared at the White Tiger. Afterward, he left the artifact space. The next morning, just as Jianshan and newbies were about to go to the Menghuang tribe with the chief of the Dal tribe, a few tremendous presences surged over from the distant horizon. "You've harmed the people of my Menghuang tribe. Get out here and die." A roar mixed with monstrous anger came from the horizon, like a thunderclap exploding in midair, reverberating continuously in the sky. On the horizon, 8 figures the size of ants were rapidly approaching. "It's the people of the Menghuang tribe," the chief of the Dal tribe murmured as he stared into the distance. Just as we want to go find them, they've come to us themselves. That sure saves us a lot of time," Newbie sneered. He did not treat them with any importance at all. "The experts of the Menghuang tribe are attacking. The people of the Menghuang tribe are attacking. All clansmen, be alert. Protect the tribe with your lives. Live and die with the tribe." The peaceful Dal tribe immediately fell into chaos with that voice. Several thousand clansmen ran out of their houses. Their faces were either filled with determination, fear, or dread. The chief of the Dal tribe frowned slightly when he saw how chaotic the tribe had become. He growled, "Everyone, don't worry. Our tribe also has the assistance of 2 peak 14-star warriors. There's no need to fear the Menghuang tribe." Hearing the chief's words, the tribesmen who were panicking immediately remembered that their own tribe also had the help of experts, and immediately calmed down. The 8 saint rulers of the Menghuang tribe arrived in the air above the Dal tribe very soon. They surrounded the Dal tribe. Their powerful formation immediately caused the expressions of many people in the Dal tribe to change. There were a total of 8 saint rulers. This had far exceeded the expectations of everyone in the Dal tribe. Jensen proudly hovered in the air as he coldly stared at the people below like he was looking at ants. He haughtily said, "I am Jensen of the Menghuang tribe, an envoy of the Serpent God Hall. Since the Dal tribe dares to harm the people of my tribe, I will represent the Serpent God Hall to judge the Dal tribe today. Where are the chief of the Dal tribe and the other 2 culprits? Why don't you come and accept the judgment of the envoy?" Jensen, he's Jensen, the genius of the Menghuang tribe. Jensen is an envoy of the Divine Hall. He has a great status, yet he's actually come to our Dal tribe. We're done for now. A total of 4 envoys have come. Our Dal tribe no longer has any hope. Even if we have two 14-star warriors, it won't change anything. Jensen's identity as an envoy of the Divine Hall immediately frightened quite a few people of the Dal tribe. The clansmen who had just recovered some confidence became filled with despair again. They no longer dared to hold onto any hope. In their eyes, only death awaited those who opposed the envoys of the Divine Hall. Chapter 878. Jensen. I never thought he'd actually return, and he's even brought 3 emissaries with him. The patriarch of the Dal tribe could not help but become stern when he saw the 4 emissaries hover in the air. The appearance of the emissaries gave him a lot of pressure. What dog's hit emissaries are you? How dare you act so recklessly before the great newbies? Are you tired of living? Newbie showed no fear at all. He shot into the sky with a tremendous presence, hovering 100 meters in the air with Jianshan as they faced off against Jensen and the others. Jensen stared at Jianshan and Newbies coldly. He growled, "Was it the 2 of you who injured the 2 protector elders and patriarch of my Menghuang tribe? So what if we were? Kid, do you want to avenge them? However, you probably don't have that ability with your current strength." Newbies crossed his arms as he stared at Jensen with a sneer. His voice was filled with disdain. Jensen was a once-in-a-millennium cultivation prodigy of the Sea Realm. He had been spoiled by all the seniors of the Menghuang tribe since he was young, and he had even been chosen as an emissary after he grew up. He had even taken a hall elder as his master. His status was something that few people could match, even in the Serpent God Hall. He was a supreme figure, and even some regular 15th-star Poseidon warriors would have to treat him with respect. How could he endure Newbies' disdainful tone with his status? It immediately angered him, and heavy killing intent filled his heart. It doesn't matter which clan you're from. I will definitely kill you today and make you understand the consequences of offending me. The dignity of an emissary of the Serpent God Hall is not to be sullied. A trident appeared in Jensen's hand, and he stabbed it at Newbies. Immediately, the surrounding water element rapidly condensed toward the trident. In the end, it condensed into a huge trident that stabbed at Newbies with a tremendous presence. Newbies' figure flashed, turning into an afterimage as he flew into the distance, saying, "There are too many people here. I don't want to hurt the innocent. If you want to fight, come with me." Jensen's trident struck Newbies' projection, causing the space there to shake violently. A powerful shockwave shot into the distance, obliterating a mountain over 10 kilometers away. Jensen took back his trident and immediately chased after Newbies. The other 3 temple emissaries also followed closely behind. With a flash, Jianshan followed behind Newbies. However, at this moment, the space behind him began to tremble violently. A silver-white spear as thick as an arm stabbed towards him from behind with lightning speed. The old chief of the Meng Desolate tribe made his move as well. He silently launched a sneak attack on Jianshan. A cold light flashed through Jianshan's eyes. Chaotic force filled his body in a single moment, pushing the power of the chaotic body to its limits. The silver-white spear stabbed into Jianshan's back with tremendous energy. A faint, golden light immediately flickered on Jianshan's body. In that crucial moment, the golden silk armor he wore blocked the attack. However, the old chief of the Meng Desolate tribe was at the 8th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. His attack was not something the golden silk armor could block. The defense of the golden silk armor collapsed, but the spear did not slow down at all. It viciously stabbed into Jianshan's back. However, what happened next made the 4 experts widen their eyes. Disbelief filled their faces. The old chief's powerful attack did not pierce through Jianshan's body like they had imagined. Instead, it came to a halt when it came in contact with Jianshan's body, unable to advance any further. It was as if the spear had not struck a person, but extremely tough steel. How is this possible? His body is so tough. Is he a member of the Turtle Clan? The 4 experts of the Meng Desolate tribe all cried out. Not only was their opponent powerful, but his body was abnormally tough as well. This had completely exceeded their expectations, causing them to feel the pressure increase for a moment. This was because it was very difficult for them to pose a threat to such a tough opponent with their strength. People of the Meng Desolate tribe, don't blame me since you've taken the initiative to attack. Jinshin's face was cold. He pulled out the dragon-slaying sword from his space ring and charged toward the 4 experts. He began to fight them in the air. 3 of the 4 experts of the Meng Desolate tribe were below the 5th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler. Only the old chief was at the 8th heavenly layer. Jinshin's 2nd layer of the chaotic body could block attacks from 7th heavenly layer Saint Rulers. Coupled with the defense of the golden silk armor, it would not be easy for 8th heavenly layer Saint Rulers to injure him. On the other side, Newbies and Jansen fought 100 kilometers away. Jansen was an emissary of the Divine Hall, so his battle prowess was much greater than regular Saint Rulers. However, he was only at the 8th heavenly layer, so he was not Newbies' opponent at all. As soon as they clashed, Jansen was suppressed by Newbies. You want to judge the great Newbies with your strength? You're dreaming, Newbies said coldly. Newbies laughed aloud. He really did not like Jansen's haughty attitude, so he did not show him any respect at all. Newbies' hand was surrounded by surging saint force. He grabbed Jansen's trident with his left hand and slapped Jansen with his right. Jansen wanted to dodge, but the surrounding space suddenly froze, firmly trapping him there. Even though it was only for a split second, it was enough for Jansen to lose the time to dodge or block. Slap! A loud slap rang out. Jansen had taken the full brunt of Newbie's slap. The slap was very powerful, directly causing Jansen's handsome face to swell up. A few of his teeth were broken as well. Yasin became stunned after receiving the slap, as if he was unable to accept this result. He had always been protected and cared for by his seniors since he was young. Even when he entered the Serpent God Hall, he was nurtured as a genius. Many emissaries even treated him extremely politely, not daring to offend him at all. As a result, Jansen gradually developed a sense of pride. Now that Newbies had slapped Jansen across the face, he was completely stunned. He had never been humiliated like this before. The 3 emissaries became stunned when they saw Jansen receive the slap. Disbelief filled their eyes. Jansen was an emissary of the Serpent God Hall and the disciple of a Hall elder. He possessed a great status, yet someone had actually slapped him across the face without giving any face to the Serpent God Hall. The 3 of them found this unbelievable. This was because even the Holy Emperor of the Peak clans would not dare to treat an emissary like this in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. An emissary was equivalent to the representative of the Serpent God Hall. Slapping an emissary was equivalent to slapping the Serpent God Hall in disguise. Jansen returned to his senses very soon. He immediately became furious when he sensed the burning pain on his face. Anger surged into his head, almost making him lose his mind. Arg, I want to kill you. I want to kill you. Jansen roared out crazily. His eyes had already become bloodshot. As a prodigy, he was unable to endure such humiliation. He immediately swung his trident at Newbies like a madman. Newbies blocked Jansen's attack calmly and sneered. You want to kill me, the great Newbies, with just your strength? Dream on. With that, Newbies directly threw a punch at Jansen's chest, sending him flying while vomiting blood. His chest had caved in, and a few of his ribs had been broken. Jansen stabilized himself very soon. He pulled out a healing pill from his space ring and swallowed it before roaring at the 3 other emissaries. All of you, attack together. The dignity of an emissary of the Divine Hall will not be sullied by anyone. The 3 other emissaries hesitated when they heard that. In the end, they all drew their weapons and began fighting Newbies. The 3 of them were not weak. 2 of them were at the 8th heavenly layer, while the burly, cold-faced emissary had already reached the 9th heavenly layer, the same level as Newbies. Jinshin and the 4 experts of the Meng Huang tribe engaged in an intense battle a few kilometers away from the Dao tribe. The intense battle attracted the attention of all the clansmen of the Dao tribe. They all paid close attention to the battle. It was very rare for the weaker clansmen to witness such a high-level battle. Just watching it would benefit them greatly. 3 of the 4 experts from the Meng Huang tribe had yet to recover from their injuries. Only the old patriarch retained his full battle prowess. Even though they possessed an advantage in numbers, they were still not Jinshin's opponent. As soon as the battle began, they began to lose the upper hand. They were suppressed by Jinshin. Ding! Jinshin wielded the ruler armament, the dragon-slaying sword. He possessed the battle prowess of a ninth heavenly layer saint ruler. He knocked away the spear in the old patriarch's hand with a single strike before his arm suddenly trembled. He stabbed out 3 times in a single instance. Each strike was unbelievably fast, as if it could tear through space and break through the limits of distance. Before the 3 experts of the Meng Huang tribe could react, the swords had mercilessly pierced through their chests, passing through their bodies. Bright red blood gushed from their bodies. When the dragon-slaying sword passed through their bodies, a tiny sliver of chaotic force remained within them, wildly destroying all their life force. Arg! The 3 experts of the Meng desolate tribe all cried out miserably. The chaotic force rampaged through their bodies, bringing them unbearable pain. They immediately lost their ability to fight and fell to the ground. They immediately sat down and gathered all the energy in their bodies to eliminate the strand of chaotic force within them. The sliver of chaotic force was very small, but its power was unquestionable. They had not reached the 5th heavenly layer of saint rulers, so they could only barely suppress the chaotic force that was wreaking havoc in their bodies with their full strength. It was impossible for them to get rid of it in a short amount of time. An ear-piercing sound rang out from behind. The old patriarch swung the silver spear in his hand, creating an airtight blur that enveloped Jinshin. The sharp tip of the spear stabbed toward Jinshin's vitals with powerful pulses of energy. Jinshin sneered disdainfully. His sword was famed for its speed. Without a doubt, the old patriarch of the Meng Huang tribe was seeking death by trying to compete in speed with him. This was because once one's speed reached a certain level, the body and arms would be subjected to a relatively large amount of pressure. Without a powerful body, it was impossible to increase one's speed. Jinshin's powerful body was fated to be the king of speed. Jinshin's right arm suddenly trembled. The dragon-slaying sword stabbed out with unbelievable speed under the control of his arm. In just a short moment, he stabbed out over 1,000 times. The blurs of the sword overlapped, blotting out the sky and completely enveloping the space before him. Ding! 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 The sword and spear shadows, which had almost turned into afterimages, constantly collided in midair, producing a series of dense clanging sounds. The sounds had completely merged into one. Every time they collided, a strong force would erupt, shaking the surrounding space and causing it to constantly tremble. The ground below was even more affected by the aftershock of the force and began to crack, forming a spiderweb-like crack. Chapter 879. Jinshin stood with his sword on his back. He hovered 100 meters in the air without using any power. Wild winds whistled as his white clothes swayed in the wind. His long hair danced in the wind, making him seem like an undefeatable war god. After the intense battle, Jinshin's clothes were completely unscathed apart from the hole the old patriarch of the Meng Huang clan had stabbed into his back with a sneak attack. On the other hand, the old patriarch of the Meng desolate tribe was in a much more sorry state. His hair was disheveled, and his entire body was covered with countless sinister and terrifying sword wounds. The blood that flowed out dyed his clothes red, making him look even more like a person made of blood. It was extremely terrifying. He currently hovered 1,000 meters in the air as he gasped for breath. The 5-meter-long silver spear in his hand drooped powerlessly, as if he no longer had the strength to raise it again. The patriarch of the 8th heavenly layer had suffered a crushing defeat in his battle against Jinshin. Other than the sneak attack earlier, he had failed to even touch the corner of Jinshin's clothes. Instead, he had ended up in such a horrible state. "Thank you for your mercy, warrior. May I ask who you are and how I should address you?" The patriarch of the Meng Huang clan asked with a heavy voice. His voice was rather weak. He knew extremely well that Jinshin had countless opportunities to kill him in the situation before because his spear had been completely suppressed. In particular, Jianshan's attack speed had reached an unbelievable level. "I'm Yang Yutian," Jianshan nonchalantly replied emotionlessly. "Whatever. Since the Doll tribe has a powerful warrior like Yang Yutian behind them, we'll retreat right now. According to the rules of the Sea Realm, we can't launch any attacks against the Doll tribe for the next century," the patriarch of the Menghuang tribe said in a depressed voice. Even though he was unwilling to accept this, there was nothing he could do. Although Yin Sun was the envoy of the Serpent God Hall, the three great halls would not interfere in the internal disputes of their territories. Yin Sun's existence could only bring honor and an increase in status to the Meng Desolate tribe. He would not use the Serpent God Hall to increase the tribe's strength. The battle on Jinshan's side had stopped, but the battle on Newbies' side continued. A total of 3/8 Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers and 1/9 Heavenly Layer Saint Ruler fought rather intensely with Newbies. Booms constantly rang out as violent ripples of energy swept through the surroundings, causing the space there to tremble and the ground to crack. "Four brats, you're not weak, but your battle prowess is too weak. The great Newbies could take on 10 people like you." Newbies spoke as he fought. Even though he was fighting 1 against 4, he still seemed to be at ease. Now, perhaps only the Holy Emperor could make Newbies feel pressured. "I'm not playing with you anymore, just in case someone says I'm wasting my time." Newbies laughed aloud. His attacks suddenly became more violent. He dodged their attacks and stabbed his hands into the chests of 2 of the envoys with lightning-like speed, piercing through their chests. Afterward, he kicked Jansen's head with lightning speed, causing his soul to shake and causing him to faint on the spot. In the blink of an eye, 3 of the 4 envoys had lost the ability to fight. The final 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Ruler, Dahe, could not help but reveal a change in expression. However, he still did not choose to retreat. He swung his trident toward Newbies as hard as he could. Newbies extended a finger, and a golden thread shot out from the tip of his finger, binding the trident tightly. He kicked Big Black's chest viciously along the way. Newbies had basically used his full strength in the kick. Just the kick was enough to send Hay flying while vomiting blood. Hay's chest bones had been shattered by the kick, while his organs were heavily injured as well. They began to crack, causing him to bleed from all his orifices. The 4 envoys were all unable to climb back to their feet after being struck by Newbies. One of them had directly fainted while the other 3 were heavily injured. They were all pale. Newbies slowly descended from the sky. He stared at the 3 awakened emissaries and teased. How does it feel to be beaten up, high and mighty emissaries? It must be very refreshing, right? Now, tell me, who's judging who? You're an envoy of the Serpent God Hall. No matter who you are, you won't have much time left to live. The elders of the hall will avenge us. They'll definitely destroy your soul. You cannot afford to offend the envoys of the hall. The 2 envoys who had tried to curry favor with Jansen earlier glared at Newbies furiously as they spoke through gritted teeth. Flames of fury burned in their eyes. As envoys of the hall, they were filled with a sense of superiority. They believed that they were already superior, so they would never allow anyone to treat them like that. It would definitely be a great humiliation to them. Newbies was infuriated. Cold light flickered through his eyes as chilling, killing intent appeared on his face. He sneered. How bold of you to say that you'll destroy my soul. Since that's the case, I'll let you taste the destruction of your soul first. What arrogance! I doubt you have the courage to kill an envoy of the hall. One of the envoys scoffed at Newbies' threat. Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Killing intent surged in Newbies' eyes. 5 golden threads suddenly shot out from his fingers, shooting toward the foreheads of the 3 envoys as streaks of light. He wanted to wipe out their souls. At the same time, the surrounding space suddenly froze under Newbies' control, trapping the 3 of them where they were. They were unable to dodge at all. All they could do was watch helplessly as death drew closer and closer. Sensing Newbies' killing intent, the expression of the emissary who had provoked Newbies before finally changed. A sliver of fear filled his heart. He had never thought that there would actually be someone bold enough to kill an emissary of the Serpent God Hall in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. At that moment, the three envoys who were still conscious all began to panic. They were esteemed envoys of the Hall with a bright future ahead of them. Breaking through to the 15th star was only a matter of time, so none of them wanted to die at a time like this. Newbies, stop! At this moment, a yell rang out from afar. Jianchen rapidly approached them. The golden thread stopped when it was a foot away from the forehead of the envoy. Newbies glanced at Jianchen, who was flying over from afar. After a moment of hesitation, he pulled back his hand and withdrew the golden thread. Jianchen arrived beside Newbies and said, "Newbies, spare their lives." "All right, since you've pleaded for them, I, the great Newbies, will spare their lives for now. However, they must leave behind their space rings," said Newbies. Jianchen did not turn down the request. They had just arrived in the Sea Realm, so what they lacked the most was currency. The four envoys should have quite a lot of crystal coins in their space rings, so there was no harm in collecting some more. If they came across something valuable again, they would not have to worry about currency. The expressions of the three envoys immediately changed when they heard that Newbies wanted them to leave behind their space rings. One of them immediately said, "No, you can't take our space rings." Newbies' face sank. He called out, "You can only choose between your space rings and your lives. If you want to live, leave behind your space rings. Otherwise, don't blame me for being merciless." The three envoys hesitated for quite some time before coming to a compromise in the end. They removed their space rings reluctantly and handed them to Newbies. Afterward, Newbies arrived before the unconscious Jensen and removed his space ring as well. Seeing that Jensen's space ring had been taken away as well, the three envoys' faces immediately became extremely ugly. They all gritted their teeth and said nothing. "All right, you can go." Newbies waved his hand and said to the three of them rather impatiently. The three envoys endured their injuries and stood up from the ground. They carried the unconscious Jensen and left in a dejected manner. Newbies played around with the four space rings in his hand and said, with their identities as envoys, there should be quite a lot of crystal coins in there. Let's go over first. We've already dealt with the matter of the Menghuang tribe. It's time for us to leave, Jianshan said before returning to the Dal tribe with Newbies. When they returned, they just happened to see the patriarch of the Dal tribe and the patriarch of the Menghuang tribe signing a treaty that was similar to a blood oath. This treaty was the rule for the conflicts between the various organizations in the Sea Realm. "The four of you, leave behind your space rings," Newbie said to the four experts of the Menghuang tribe arrogantly. The faces of the four experts of the Menghuang tribe changed when they heard that. The old patriarch swallowed his anger and said, "According to the rules, we only need to pay a portion of the crystal coins. Handing over our space rings is against the rules. You can't do that. Cut the crap. Who cares about the rules? Hurry up and hand over your space rings," Newbies called out. He was actually trying to take advantage of the situation at a time like this. Chapter 880. The four experts of the Menghuang tribe reluctantly handed their space rings to Newbies before leaving with wounds all over their bodies. Jianshan did not take their lives. He withdrew the strand of chaotic force that was wreaking havoc in three of them. Ignoring the fact that he did not have any irreconcilable grievances with the people of the Menghuang tribe, one of the clansmen of the Menghuang tribe was a member of the Serpent God Hall. Killing them would inevitably lead to some trouble. Jinshan obviously did not wish for something like that to happen, as he only wanted to seek refuge in the Sea Realm and gain more time to increase his strength. Patriarch, since the matter of the Menghuang tribe has been dealt with, the two of us have basically completed our mission. We'll part ways here. Jianshan clasped his hands at the patriarch of the Dal tribe after the people of the Menghuang tribe had left. "My two brave warriors, you must be tired from the previous battle. Why don't you rest in our tribe for a few days? Let us, the Dal tribe, thank you for your kindness." The chief of the Dal tribe tried to persuade them to stay. Jianshan shook his head. "Thank you for your kindness, patriarch. We do indeed have important matters to attend to, so we can't waste any more time." Jianshun and newbies immediately left after declining the patriarch's invitation. They had come to the Sea Realm to increase their strength, not to play. They could not waste too much time on these miscellaneous matters. The patriarch of the Dal tribe gently sighed inside as he watched Jianshun and newbies leave. He murmured, "How great would it be if such powerful warriors could remain in our tribe? It's a pity that our tiny Dal tribe can't accommodate powerful warriors like them." The great elder of the Dal tribe walked up to the chief and said, "Chief, the two warriors have injured the 4 emissaries of the Divine Hall. Do you think the Divine Hall will blame them?" There was a trace of worry in the great elder's expression. The chief shook his head and said, "The fact that the emissaries of the Divine Temple have participated in the battle between the tribes is already a violation of the Divine Temple's commandments. The fact that the 4 emissaries of the Divine Temple are not punished by the Divine Temple after they return is already a very fortunate thing. Why would the Divine Temple hold the Dal tribe accountable for such a small matter? Our Dal tribe is equivalent to the people of the Serpent God Hall. The Divine Hall won't interfere with the conflicts between the people unless the situation is too big. That's why the Divine Hall will intervene. However, we won't help either side for no reason." Jianshun and newbies flew 1,000 meters in the air. Newbies played around with the 8 space rings in his hand as he snickered from time to time. He constantly guessed how many crystal coins were stored in there. Along the way, Jianshun and newbies came across quite a few groups of saint rulers. There were even holy emperor saint rulers searching everywhere. They were all searching for traces of the 8 wastelands. Any human or magical beast saint ruler that they came across would be stopped and questioned carefully. There were even a few holy emperor saint rulers who would forcefully search through their space rings. Jianshun and newbies were stopped a few times as well, but since they both possessed the presence of the sea race, very few people would purposefully make things difficult for them. However, they did come across a group of saint rulers that was unreasonable once. They wanted to forcefully search through their space rings, which almost led to a battle. Jianshun and newbies traveled for an entire day. In the end, they arrived at a desolate mountain range with very few people. They carved out a cave in the depths of the mountain range and settled down temporarily. They planned on cultivating there for the time being. Jianshun was not in a hurry to find the Divine Hall of the 8 wastelands. Right now, the entire Sea Realm was filled with experts searching for the 8 wastelands. If people learned that the 2 of them possessed the 8 wastelands, they would definitely become the target of everyone. At that time, it would be extremely difficult for them to keep the pieces of the 8 wastelands. Jianshun embedded a luminous pearl into the ceiling of the cave to provide some light in the pitch-black cave. Newbies crouched on the ground and began to count the items in the 8 space rings. It had to be mentioned that newbies' harvest this time was extremely plentiful. The 8 space rings contained a large number of crystal coins and a few other miscellaneous items. Adding all the crystal coins in the 8 space rings together, it amounted to over 30 million crystal coins. The amount surprised Jianshun and newbies. Other than that, there were some notes on cultivation and cultivation methods. There were even 2 heaven-tier battle skills. However, while these things were of some use to Heaven Saint Masters, they were completely useless to Jianshun and newbies. Newbies casually tossed them to one side. At this moment, an extremely obscure pulse of energy appeared from the pile of items. Newbie's curiosity was immediately piqued. He dove into the pile of items he had poured out of his space ring and began rummaging through them. Very soon, Newbies pulled out an ordinary metal box that was around a foot long. He studied the box in his hand curiously and said, "The things inside must be extremely valuable." With that, Newbies slowly opened the box. The material of the box was extremely unique. It clearly had the effect of isolating pulses of energy. When the box was tightly shut, it was very difficult to sense any pulses of energy, but as soon as the box was opened, a tremendous pulse of energy immediately radiated out. This energy was majestic and powerful, as if it was an emperor that could command the world. With its appearance, the water elemental energy within a radius of dozens of miles quieted down, as if they had been frightened by something or as if they had met their own king, all of them prostrating themselves on the ground and submitting to him. The disturbance is far too great. It'll definitely attract the attention of other experts. Let's enter the artifact space, Jianshan called out. Before he could study the contents of the box, a golden light shot out from between his eyebrows and turned into a golden pagoda. Afterward, he and newbies entered the artifact space together with the box. After the two of them left, a woman silently appeared in the empty cave. She was tall and wore a veil over her face, so it was impossible to make out her appearance. If Jianshan and newbies saw her, they would definitely recognize her as the mysterious person who had given them the water spirit pearl. A light flickered through the woman's eyes. Her gaze was cold as she softly murmured, "I never thought that an emperor would venture into the depths of the sea of despair and obtain an abyssal crystal while I was slumbering. He used a secret technique to forge a key. Do you think you can find me with this key?" Jianshan and newbies suddenly appeared in the central hall of the artifact space. However, as soon as they appeared, a cool presence immediately radiated into the surroundings from the two of them. It filled the surrounding several dozen kilometers with dense water elemental energy. "Master, what's this?" The artifact spirit silently appeared beside Jianshan. The light in her eyes flickered as she studied the item in the box curiously. Jianshan and newbies stared at the item in the box. At that moment, the box had been completely enveloped by a layer of blue light. Through the light, they could vaguely see a palm-sized key lying there. The powerful blue light came from the key. Jianshan carefully picked up the key from the box and studied it. The powerful blue light from the key illuminated Jianshan's entire face, dyeing him and newbies in a deep blue. It seemed extremely demonic. "It's actually a key. Is it the key to some treasure?" Newbies guessed. Jianshan stared at the key in thought for a while before placing it back into the box. He slowly closed the box and said with a heavy voice, "This key must be something important to unlock something. It's definitely not simple. I just don't know if this key belongs to the emissary or to the Serpent God Hall. If it belongs to them, it'll be easy, but if it belongs to the Serpent God Hall, we'll probably be in trouble." "Jianshan, it looks like we need to go to an even further place to cultivate in seclusion, just in case the people of the Serpent God Hall come looking for us," Newbie suggested. Jianshan nodded. "Artifact Spirit, I'll leave the box with you for now. Take good care of it for me." "Yes, Master," the Artifact Spirit replied in a hurry. Afterwards, Jianshan and newbies left the artifact space and reappeared in the cave. The two of them were no longer in the mood to remain there. They quickly stowed away a large pile of useful items in the cave into their space rings and immediately left, flying off into the distance. At the same time, Jansen and the other emissaries returned to the Serpent God Hall in dejection. They reported everything that had happened on the way to a Hall Elder. The Hall Elder was a burly man with bare arms. He had a ferocious look on his face and gave off a valiant presence. All the emissaries standing before him could not help but tremble. They felt fear from the depths of their souls. This was similar to the pressure of a bloodline. It was a phenomenon that would only occur when a lower life form faced a higher life form. "What? You've actually lost something?" The Hall Elder was infuriated when he heard that the four of them had lost their space rings. His gaze immediately sharpened, piercing through space like two sharp swords, causing it to tremble. The four emissaries all knelt on the ground as they trembled. Their faces were filled with fear. "You four pieces of trash. Our Serpent God Hall sent the four of you out to bring the item back just to fool others. Didn't those useless elders tell you just how important the item was to our Serpent God Hall before you left? You pieces of trash actually brought something so valuable out to stir up trouble, and you even lost it in the end. What's the point of keeping you pieces of trash around?" The middle-aged man roared in exasperation. Towards the end, he directly swung his palm at the four emissaries. "Charlie, calm down," an old voice rang out. Immediately, a blue barrier of light suddenly appeared, protecting the four emissaries. When the middle-aged man's palm strike collided with the blue light immediately shook violently. In the end, it was unable to withstand the heavy pressure and shattered. However, the remaining force of the middle-aged man's palm strike still mercilessly struck Jansen and the other 3 emissaries, causing them to spurt out a mouthful of blood. Their bodies were sent flying backwards like cannonballs. In the end, they fiercely hit the wall behind them. An old man with a walking stick walked in from the outside unhurriedly. The middle-aged man stared coldly at the old man and said in a low voice, "Look at your good disciple. He actually lost such an important item. You should know how important this item is to the palace master. If the palace master blames us, neither you nor I will be able to bear the responsibility." Chapter 881. The old man with the walking stick comforted Charlie, then turned to the 4 temple messengers and said, "Tell me the details of what happened. Esteemed hall elders, the situation is like this. We were hurrying back to the divine hall with the items and passed by Jensen's tribe along the way, so we stopped for a while. Jensen's tribe just happened to face a threat at that time. The 3 experts of the tribe were heavily injured, so Jensen took us to another tribe in an attempt to redeem ourselves. In the other tribe, the 4 of us were defeated by an extremely powerful person even when we worked together. He even took away all our space rings. That's right, esteemed hall elders. Not only did they take away our space rings, they even wanted to kill us. They don't take our serpent god hall seriously at all. They don't care about us at all." The 2 emissaries who liked to get on Jensen's good side spoke one after another. Their voices were filled with anger, as if the dignity of the serpent god hall was more important than anything else. The old man with the walking stick looked at the silent Big Black and asked calmly, "Big Black, is what they said true?" Blackie nodded and said, "Reporting to the Honorable Divine Hall Elder, what they said is true. Then what are we waiting for? Send people to capture that person immediately. We must take back that item," Charlie immediately ordered. The old man nodded slightly. The existence of that item can't be leaked. Once the people of the Poseidon Hall and the Heaven Spirit Hall learn about it, it'll be troublesome. As a result, we can't send too many people this time to avoid drawing attention. We can't send too many people, and we can't be too powerful either. Dahay, what's the strength of the person who took away your space rings?" Dahay thought about it and said, "Esteemed hall elders, from my fight with him, his strength should be at the peak of the 14th star. However, his battle prowess is extremely great, comparable to some 15-star experts. If that's the case, we'll send 2 15-star elders to go with the 4 of you. It'll be easier to identify the 2 people," said the old man. "Yes, esteemed temple elder," the 4 emissaries replied in unison. "Remember, this is your only chance to redeem yourself. If you can get that item back, then everything will be fine. If you can't get that item back, then you'll have to suffer the palace master's wrath," Charlie said with a gloomy expression. Charlie's harsh words made the 4 emissaries tremble. A strong sense of fear and unease rose up from their hearts, invading their minds and causing them to tremble uncontrollably. At this moment, the 4 of them were filled with so much regret that their intestines turned green. If they had known this would happen, they wouldn't have acted like that in the first place. Very soon, the 4 of them left the Serpent God Hall with the 2 15-star elders. They directly flew in the direction of the Dal tribe. While Jianshin and the other 3 were rushing towards the Dal tribe, Jianshin and newbies were not resting either. They were flying further away. Jianshin held a map in his hand. As he hurried along, he checked their current location against the landscape to make sure that they would not get lost. The 2 of them traveled several 100,000 kilometers before finally stopping above a desolate forest. Jianshin looked around and murmured, "We're about 700,000 kilometers away from the Dal tribe. Now that we're 700,000 to 800,000 kilometers away from the Dal tribe, we should be safe. Let's choose this place for now. We'll return to the Tian Yuan continent once we have enough strength," said Jianshin. Afterward, he descended with Jianshin and dug out a new cave to serve as a temporary dwelling. At the same time, Jensen and the other 4 emissaries of the Sacred Hall arrived at the Dal tribe with 2 ordinary-looking old men. The few of them hovered high above the Dal tribe and shouted, "Where is the chief of the Dal tribe? Come out quickly." Hearing the shout, the chief of the Dal tribe immediately walked out of the hall. When he saw that it was Jensen and the other 3 emissaries, His expression immediately changed slightly. Then he noticed the two extremely ordinary-looking old men floating behind the four of them. His heart sank again. He already had a bad premonition. "I am the Patriarch. May I ask what business you have with me?" The Patriarch clasped his hands and spoke extremely politely. "Where are the two of them? Where are they? Call them out." Jensen glared at the Patriarch and called out. With the support of two 15-star experts, they became much more confident. "Esteemed emissaries of the Divine Hall, the two powerful warriors have already left. They are not in our tribe," the Patriarch said modestly. "What? They've left?" The faces of Jansen and the other three emissaries immediately became unsightly. "Where did they go? Where are they going?" This time, the person who spoke was an old man standing at the back. The Patriarch extended a hand and pointed in the direction Jianshan and Nuanyuan had left. He said, "The two warriors left in that direction. I don't know where they're going either." Many people in the tribe had seen the direction Jianshan and Nuanyuan had left. At this moment, the Patriarch could only tell the truth. He did not dare to fool the people of the Divine Hall. "Chase them." The four emissaries and the two old men did not hesitate at all. They immediately pursued in the direction the Patriarch had pointed. At this moment, Jianshan and Nuanyuan had already entered seclusion in the mountains several 100,000 kilometers away. They did their best to increase their strength. 100 kilometers away from Jianshan, a white-robed young man with a rather sinister face carefully leapt through the forest. He erased his presence along the way as he quickly approached the cave Jianshan and Nuanyuan cultivated in. "I must obtain the divine water of the world. No matter where you run to, you won't be able to escape from me, Xiao Wang." The young man's eyes were filled with determination. He was the expert who wanted to steal the divine water from Jianshan, Xiao Wang. Xiao Wang had used some unknown method to locate Jianshan. He quickly approached the cave where Jianshan cultivated in seclusion. He completely concealed his presence and approached the cave silently. Using a special secret technique, he passed through the barrier outside the cave without alerting the owner. He successfully entered the cave and finally arrived at the cave where Jianshan cultivated in seclusion. At this moment, Jianshan sat cross-legged on the ground with his eyes closed. He seemed to have entered a deep state of cultivation. It was as if he had not noticed that someone had invaded his cultivation dwelling. Xiao Wang's heart had stopped beating. His body had also turned cold, perfectly blending with the surrounding temperature. It was as if he had become one with the world. Standing in front of the cave, Xiao Wang calmly stared at Jianshan, who was sitting cross-legged on the ground. He thought to himself, "You're the weakest here, so it'll be easier to deal with you. Once I injure you, I'll use you to threaten the other person to hand over the divine water of the world." With this thought in mind, Xiao Wang quietly approached Jianshan. Then, with lightning speed, he directly grabbed at Jianshan's heart. Xiao Wang's hand easily pierced through Jianshan's heart. However, his heart sank. He thought to himself, an afterimage. Xiao Wang's reaction was also very fast. He suddenly turned around and saw Jianshan standing there calmly. He was looking at him with a mocking gaze. "Xiao Wang, are you feeling uncomfortable from the beating last time? Are you asking for another beating?" A lazy voice came from outside the cave. Newbies, who lived in another cave, walked over with his arms crossed. He stood side by side with Jianshan. Xiao Wang's face turned ugly. He said in shock, "Impossible. I entered this place silently with my innate ability. How did you discover me? You've been following us for a long time. I noticed you a long time ago. However, I have to say that your innate ability is really powerful. You can actually pass through the barrier we set up. If it was someone else, I'm afraid your sneak attack would have succeeded. Unfortunately, the person you met is me." Jianshan chuckled. "I, Xiao Wang, am unlucky." Xiao Wang gritted his teeth. Then, he directly charged into the sky. He smashed through the rocks and rushed out of the cave. He wanted to escape. "You want to leave? Not so easy." Newbie sneered. He also copied Xiao Wang and smashed through the rocks above his head. He rushed out of the cave and blocked Xiao Wang's path. Xiao Wang stared coldly at Newbies and said in a deep voice, "Although I can't beat you, if I want to leave, you can't stop me. Is that so?" Newbie stared at Xie Wang with a mocking expression. He said, "You think you're the only one with innate ability, and I, the great newbies, don't have it?" Xie Wang's face suddenly changed. He couldn't find anything to say. Jianshan also flew up from below. He said, "Xie Wang, you spent so much effort to follow us for hundreds of thousands of miles. Are you going to leave just like that? Don't you want your divine water of heaven and earth?" Xie Wang snorted coldly and said nothing. However, he was thinking of a way to escape. "I hope you're all alone. You want the divine water of heaven and earth to break through to the 15th star of the Poseidon. How about this? Follow us from now on, and I'll be responsible for your breakthrough." Jianshan gently smiled. A gleam of light flashed through Xie Wang's eyes when he heard that. He stared closely at Jianshan and said, "You want the divine water of heaven and earth as payment." "That's right," Jianshan said. "You're willing to give me your divine water of heaven and earth." "No, I won't give you the divine water of the world on me. However, I can promise you that I'll obtain more divine water in 50 years at most." "You'll definitely get a share of it," Jianshan swore. "The divine water of heaven and earth is produced once every 1,000 years. It's impossible to produce it again in 50 years. At the same time, the divine realm that produces the divine water is filled with danger. If you go in, you'll probably die," Xie Wang said with a deep voice. "You don't need to worry about that. All you need to know is that I can give you the divine water of heaven and earth in 50 years at most," Jianshan said. "Why should I believe you? You can only choose to believe me because this might be your only chance at obtaining the divine water of heaven and earth." Xie Wang fell silent. The light in his eyes flickered as if he was in an intense struggle. He did not have much time left. If he did not break through soon, he would only have around 100 years left. Chapter 882. "But Xie Wang, will follow you. What do you want me to do?" Xie Wang asked again. "We'll talk about that in the future. We're going into seclusion for a period of time, so find a place to stay 10 kilometers away. Stop anyone else from approaching and protect the two of us," Jianshan said. Xie Wang nodded. "All right, I'll do as you say. However, I hope you won't go back on your word. You have to give me the divine water of the world in 50 years at most." Xie Wang turned around and flew away. He opened up a cave 10 kilometers away and settled down. "Jianshan, why did you get him to follow us? He's quite strong, but he doesn't seem to be of much help to us. And can you really obtain the divine water of the world in 50 years? Newbies asked in doubt after Xie Wang had left. He was very confused by Jianshan's actions. Jianshan raised his head slightly and stared at the deep blue sky in a daze. He said, "We have a fragment of the map of the 8 wastelands, so I think we have a right to enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands. At the same time, I've learned from the experts who fought over the map that only people below the Holy Emperor can enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands. Xie Wang is a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler, so his battle prowess is not weak either. There are very few people who can match him at the same level of cultivation. If we enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands in the future, he'll be of great help to us." "What? Only people below the Holy Emperor can enter the divine hall of the 8 wastelands? Doesn't that mean we can't break through?" Newbies was surprised. "That's right. Before we enter the shrine of the 8 wastelands, we can't break through to the Holy Emperor realm. Therefore, during this period of seclusion, you must restrain your growth. Whatever. If I can't break through, then so be it. However, I can still absorb another layer of the old snake's essence, so I'm half a step away from the Holy Emperor's level. It'll be much easier for me to break through in the future. All right, I'm going back to cultivate." After saying that, newbies returned to the cave. Before long, Jianshan returned to the cave to continue cultivating. With the assistance of the sword spirits, he began to refine the monster cores he had taken out from the artifact space. Right now, his chaotic Niden was only the size of a pigeon's egg. There was still a very long way to go before he could reach the 3rd layer. What he needed to do right now was reach the peak of the 2nd layer as soon as possible. "Master, once your chaotic body reaches the 5th layer, You should be able to directly absorb the energy from the Yin-Yang Saint Rock. Xing's voice rang out. There was a sliver of eagerness in her voice. Xing, if I absorb all the energy from the rock, what layer will my chaotic body reach? Jinshin asked curiously. If you absorb all the energy from the rock, Master's chaotic body should reach the 7th, 8th, or even 9th layer, Qing Suo pondered. He was rather uncertain. Jinshin's heart immediately began to thump uncontrollably when he heard that. A great eagerness rose up in him, tempting him to reach the 9th layer right now. I wonder what level of cultivation I'll reach once I absorb all the energy from the rock. Will I reach the Holy Emperor realm? Or will I surpass the Holy Emperor? If I can surpass the Holy Emperor, I'll definitely learn from Senior Imo Tianyun and invade the world of Forsaken Saints all by myself. I'll turn the world upside down and turn their blood into rivers so that they no longer have the power to threaten the Tianyuan continent. Jianshin clenched his fists tightly as he thought to himself. Several days later, a huge divine hall hovered 100 meters in the air, several 100,000 kilometers away. It radiated with a tremendous presence. At this moment, a furious roar rang out from a majestic hall within the divine hall. Trash! You're all trash! You're all trash! You can't even find the two of them! The burly hall elder, Charlie, roared out furiously. Jensen and the other 3 emissaries knelt before Charlie as they trembled. Their faces were filled with fear. They had searched outside for several days, but they had failed to find Jianshin and Heiyu. With no other choice, they could only return and report the matter to the hall elder. If you can't take it back, just wait for your deaths once the hall master emerges from seclusion. You pieces of trash. Why did I send you on this mission in the first place? You've all messed up something so simple. Charlie was furious. He paced around the hall as he became extremely worried. Charlie, that item has its own unique aura. Furthermore, the item that was snatched away was created by an emperor 30,000 years ago. It contains a trace of the emperor's power. The emperor's power is equal to the power of the sacred hall. How about this? The two of us will work together to perform the water mirror technique and borrow a trace of the sacred hall's power. Let's see if we can find the whereabouts of that item, Jansen's master said. All right, that's all we can do now. We'll use a sliver of the divine hall's power. I hope the hall master won't blame us. Charlie nodded before saying to the other 4, why don't you all leave? The 4 emissaries stood up in a panic before leaving the hall. Around half an hour later, 2 hall elders emerged from the hall. They were rather exhausted. Jensen's master held a scroll in his hand and said, We've found their whereabouts. Their location is marked on this map. Immediately go with the 2 15-star elders and retrieve the item to make up for your crimes. Master, we will definitely take it back this time. Jensen swore as he accepted the scroll. Afterward, the 4 of them left together. Charlie said with a heavy voice as he stared in the direction that the 4 of them had left, I hope they can bring it back successfully this time. Sigh, that item is just too special. We can't let any news about it leak, nor can we raise the attention of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Poseidon Hall. As a result, we can't send too many people, or I would have done it myself long ago. Jensen's master gently sighed. Several days later, Diablo lay on the ground in boredom in a primitive forest 1,000,000 kilometers away from the Serpent God Hall. He stared blankly at the gloomy ceiling as he carried out his duties silently. He watched over Jianshin and newbies, preventing them from being disturbed by external factors. Can he really give me the divine water of the world in 50 years? Diablo placed his hands behind his head as he lay on the icy ground and murmured softly. He had already lost count of how many times he had said the same thing today. To think that I, Diablo, am renowned in the sea realm. I've always been a loner without any restraints, only doing what I want to do. I never thought that I'd end up like this and become someone else's lackey. Whatever. This is my only hope of breaking through to the 15th star. If I lose even this sliver of hope, I won't have any chance at breaking through to the 15th star. I'll just trust him for now. It's fine even if I have to suffer a little for now. Diablo mumbled to himself. Xia Wang muttered to himself. With his personality, it was really difficult for him to submit to others. He could only continuously comfort himself in order to calm down the unhappiness in his heart. At this moment, Diablo's eyes narrowed. Oh no, someone's coming. The evil king's figure disappeared in a flash. He had already left the cave. When he reappeared, he was already floating in the air 1,000 meters away. In the distance, 6 figures were flying over at lightning speed. In the end, they stopped when they were 328 feet away from Evil King, and all of them stared at Evil King with fierce gazes. You're the emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. Diablo's face changed slightly when he saw the clothes the 6 of them wore. Jansen stared at the Evil King for a while, but didn't pay much attention to him. He looked around and said, "From the markings on the map Master gave me, they should be here, but it's not this person." The 2 old men beside Jensen looked in the same direction at the same time. One of them said, "There are 2 people cultivating in seclusion. I just don't know if it's them." "That's easy. Just get the 2 of them to appear. We'll know if they're the people we're looking for as soon as we see them," said the other old man. Afterward, he grabbed at the air, and the energy in the surroundings rapidly condensed. In the end, it formed a huge hand that was 100 meters wide. It slammed down on the mountain where Jianshun and newbies were cultivating. Boom! The mountain exploded loudly. It was reduced to countless pieces of rock that shot out in all directions from the palm strike. The barrier newbies had cast down personally shattered like tofu as well. It was unable to stop the attack at all. 15-star warrior Poseidon. Diablo's face immediately became ugly when he saw this. The light in his eyes flickered with uncertainty. Who dares to destroy the cultivation dwelling of the great newbies? Are you looking to die? A furious roar rang out from the mountain. Newbies angrily flew out from the rubble. Cold light flickered in his eyes as he radiated with powerful killing intent. The eyes of Jensen and the other 3 emissaries lit up when they heard the familiar, arrogant voice. They all pointed at newbies and said loudly, "It's him, it's him. Elders, he's the one who stole that item." A sliver of joy flashed through the eyes of the 2 old men when they heard that. They thought, he really isn't at the 15th star. Looks like completing the Hall Elders mission will be easy. Boom! Rubble flew everywhere as the white-robed Jianshun flew out from the rubble with his dragon-slaying sword. He flew with newbies toward Jensen and the others with a sunken face. They faced each other from 100 meters away. Newbies studied the people before him with a sharp gaze. In the end, his gaze landed on the 2 old men, and he could not help but become rather stern. He said with a deep voice, "I never thought that 2 15-star experts would come." Jinshin's face could not help but change when he heard that there were actually 2 Holy Emperor experts. With his current strength, he could only deal with 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers. He would not be the opponent of Holy Emperor experts at all. Jensen could not help but laugh aloud when he saw how stern the 2 of them were. You must be regretting it now. This is the fate of offending the emissaries of the Divine Hall, but it's all too late now. It's useless even if you regret it. Just wait for your death obediently. Chapter 883. Jianshin could not help but laugh aloud when he saw how stern the 2 of them were. You must be regretting it now. This is what happens when you offend the emissaries of the Divine Hall. But it's too late now. It's useless even if you regret it. Just obediently await your deaths. Newbie sneered. Do you think you can deal with us just by calling 2 15th-star Poseidon warriors? As he said that, a tremendous presence radiated from newbies, enveloping the surrounding mountains. The presence had vaguely surpassed the 9th heavenly layer of Saint Ruler, reaching an even higher level. The presence actually possessed some boundless might. Newbies was brimming with battle intent. He showed no fear at all, as if the 2 Holy Emperor-level experts were not undefeatable to him. Xie Wang shivered inside when he sensed the surging presence from newbies. He thought, no wonder his battle prowess is so great. So he's only 1 step away from reaching the 15th star and becoming a renowned expert of the Sea Realm. The expressions of the 4 emissaries changed slightly. They could obviously sense that even if newbies was not a 15-star expert, he was not far from it. His strength was not something they could contend against. However, when their gazes landed on the two old men beside them, they immediately relaxed. The two old men were elders of the Serpent God Hall, true 15th star experts. As long as the two of them were present, the three people before them would not be able to do anything at all. You've already reached the peak of the 14th star. You're only a step away from the 15th star. Not bad, not bad. If you have some more time, it won't be difficult for you to reach the 15th star. The two of us are elders of the Serpent God Hall. May I ask if you're interested in joining the Serpent God Hall? If you're willing, I'll report this matter to the Hall elders once I return. I think the Hall elders will definitely welcome you very much, Elder CD said with a smile. He came from the Serpent God Hall, so he knew many secret techniques that the Holy Emperor could not compare to. With the assistance of the secret techniques, he could vaguely sense a sliver of extremely pure rulers' presence from Jianshan and newbies. He guessed that the two of them were rulers of some clan and possessed extremely great talent. They would definitely reach the peak of the 16th star in the future. Experts like that were only a step away from becoming emperors. Even the three divine halls would do everything they could to rope them in. You haven't come all this way to find us for this matter, right? Jianshan asked emotionlessly. The other old man added, "That's right. We haven't come all this way to find you for this matter, but if you're willing to join our Serpent God Hall, we'll be family in the future." Yin-sun immediately panicked when he heard that CD and the elder wanted the two people he hated to join the Serpent God Hall at the same time. He said, "Elders, the two of them are. We know what we're doing. There's no need for you to say anything more." Before Yin-sun could finish, the elder stopped him. He stared at Jianshan and newbies closely. "If you want us to join your Serpent God Hall, you'll probably be disappointed," Jianshan replied. "You're not willing?" The elder's face sank slightly. "That's right." Jianshan stared straight at the elder without any fear. Seeing that, Elder CD said, "Forget it. Since you're not willing to join our Serpent God Hall, we won't force you. You took a few space rings from the 4 emissaries a few days ago, so I hope you can return them to us. We won't make things difficult for you." Although Elder CD said that, a sliver of extremely well-hidden, killing intent flashed through the depths of her eyes. She thought, "The Hall elders have warned me that this item must be kept a secret. I can't let anyone know about it aside from the Serpent God Hall. Since you're not joining our Serpent God Hall, we need to eliminate you even if you possess the ruler's aura. Since you want the 4 space rings, I'll return them to you." Newbies tossed the 4 space rings to the two elders without any hesitation. The two elders secretly rejoiced when they saw how Jianshan and newbies handed over the space rings so readily. They each caught 2 space rings and began to check them. At this moment, Jianshan and newbies seemed to have already discussed this. They suddenly attacked the two elders who were checking the space rings. Newbies' hands had already become completely golden. He unleashed all of his strength without holding back at all, grabbing towards the neck of one of the elders with lightning-like speed. Jianshan wielded his ruler's weapon, the dragon-slaying sword. It was enveloped by a layer of dark light, radiating with a destructive presence. He stabbed towards the other elder with lightning-like speed. Jianshan had stabbed out with his full strength, so his speed had reached its peak. It was unbelievably fast. The strike seemed to slice through space, crossing the distance between them. It arrived before the elder's forehead in just a single moment. The two elders had never thought that Jianshan and newbies would actually be bold enough to attack a noble elder in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. Coupled with the fact that most of their attention had been focused on the space rings when they were checking them, they were directly struck by the two of them while they were completely unprepared. Newbies grabbed at Elder CD's throat mercilessly, ripping through his throat and tearing off a large piece of skin, revealing his broken throat and some meridians. At the same time, a sliver of poison entered Elder CD's body through Newbies' hand, immediately causing the wound on his neck to emit an unpleasant stench. Jianshan's dragon-slaying sword stabbed into the elder's forehead with great precision. Just when the sword was about to harm his soul, the elder grabbed the sword tightly with his shriveled hands, preventing it from going any deeper. Afterwards, he bellowed out and exerted force with his hands, forcefully pulling the sword out of his forehead. "How dare you launch a sneak attack? I won't let you off." The elder bellowed out furiously. His voice was filled with both pain and fury. Although the sword had missed his soul by a sliver of powerful and strange power had remained in his head. It was currently rampaging through his brain, causing him excruciating pain. The elder immediately used his powerful soul to suppress the sliver of chaotic force Jianshan had left in his head. He struck out with his hand with lightning speed, striking towards Jianshan's chest. Jianshan used the illusory flash and vanished from the elder's vision as a blur. When he reappeared, he was already behind the elder. He stabbed out 3 times with the dragon-slaying sword as a blur. A tremendous amount of energy surged out from the elder's body, forming an extremely tough armor around him to block Jianshan's lightning-fast sword. The dragon-slaying sword was imbued with destructive chaos force as it stabbed into the Rain's elder's armor. The first strike caused a crack to appear on the Rain's elder's armor. The second sword strike shattered the horse Rain elder's armor. The third strike pierced through the elder's body like a hot knife through butter. The sharp tip of the sword that was covered in blood emerged from his chest. At the same time, surging chaotic force surged out of the dragon-slaying sword, exploding within the elder's body. "Ark!" The elder produced a chilling cry. A bowl-sized hole had appeared in his chest from the chaotic force that had gone out of control. His organs had all been blown to pieces. Jianshan did not hesitate at all. He knew that he could not give the elder any time to catch his breath. With a violent jerk of his arm, the dragon-slaying sword stabbed out again as a black streak of light. This time, it was aimed at the back of the elder's head. He wanted to heavily injure his soul. "I will make you die a horrible death." The elder howled crazily. The surrounding space suddenly froze, trapping Jianshan and his sword. Jianshan's heart sank as he cursed. Without pausing at all, chaotic force immediately surged out of his body, shattering the frozen space. However, just when he broke out of the frozen space, a hand arrived with lightning-like speed, striking Jianshan's chest viciously. Spurt! The golden silk armor was instantly broken through. Jianshan spat out a mouthful of blood as he was blown far away like a meteor. "I will tear you to pieces." The muscles on the Rain's elder's face were extremely twisted. Blood flowed out from between his eyebrows and dyed his entire face red. In addition to the bowl-sized hole in his chest, he looked like a demon from hell, ferocious and terrifying. The elder fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to catch up to Jianshan in a single moment. His hands landed on Jianshan mercilessly. Jianshan vomited a few mouthfuls of blood. His chaotic body had cracked from the heavy strikes, so he was heavily injured. On the other side, newbies had managed to heavily injure Elder CD with a sneak attack. Just when he was about to follow up with another attack, he suddenly saw that Jianshan was in trouble. He immediately abandoned Elder CD and charged towards the elder. The two of them engaged in a great battle once again, becoming locked in a stalemate in the air. A powerful killing intent appeared nearby. Elder CD charged toward newbies with surging killing intent as blood dripped from his throat. Although he was heavily injured, he was still a Saint King after all. His vitality was tenacious, so he still retained some battle prowess. "I'll stop them. Leave immediately." Newbies yelled at Jianshan as he fought against the two holy emperors all by himself. Although the two holy emperors were heavily injured, newbies found it extremely difficult to stop them all by himself. He had already unleashed all his strength without holding back at all. All he lacked was his original form. Although CD and Mahdi were only at the first heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, they were definitely outstanding since they could become elders of the Divine Hall. Their battle prowess was even greater than regular Holy Emperors. The two of them were only at the first heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor, but their true strength was close to the second heavenly layer of the Holy Emperor. The light in Jianshan's eyes flickered. After hesitating slightly, he gave up on the idea of using God's descent to kill the two elders. He immediately fled into the distance. The price of using God's descent was just too great. Even if he could kill the two elders, there would be even more powerful elders coming for them. Killing the two of them would not solve the problem at all. The item might be on him. We can't let him escape. The four emissaries finally returned to their senses. They all caught up to Jinshin and engaged in a great battle with Jinshin. Chapter 884. The light in Xie Wang's eyes flickered with uncertainty as he watched Jinshin engage in a bitter battle nearby. He was filled with hesitation. They're the emissaries and elders of the Serpent God Hall. Heavens, how have they offended the people of the Serpent God Hall? What should I do? What should I do? Should I take part in this matter? Should I help them? Xie Wang thought. He found it rather difficult to make a decision. After a while, Xie Wang finally clenched his teeth and thought, whatever. I only have around 100 years to live anyway. For the divine water of the world, for the sake of successfully reaching the 15th star, I'll do it. Xie Wang finally made up his mind with that thought. He immediately charged toward the four emissaries, blocking two for Jinshin. Evil King, how dare you offend my Serpent God Hall? Are you tired of living? An envoy of the Divine Hall called out sternly. I've gone too far this time. I've offended the people of the Serpent God Hall. They'll definitely hunt me down in the future, so I won't be able to set foot in the Serpent God Hall again. I've helped you so much, so you must give me the divine water of the world within 50 years. Otherwise, I swear that I won't rest until you're dead, Xie Wang said to Jinshin as he fended off the attacks of the two emissaries. Don't worry, I won't go back on my word. I'll definitely give you the divine water of the world within 50 years, Jinshin replied. With Xie Wang blocking the attacks of the two emissaries for him, the pressure on Jinshin immediately decreased drastically. He immediately struck out as hard as he could. The Dragon Slayer, sword in his hand, constantly stabbed at the two emissaries with a destructive presence. Even though Jinshin was quite injured, dealing with the two emissaries who were at the 8th heavenly layer was nothing difficult for him. The Dragon Slayer sword turned into blurs that filled the sky and enveloped the two emissaries. The overlapping blurs completely obscured the surrounding space. The two emissaries became extremely stern. They quickly swung their weapons to block Jinshin's attacks as hard as they could. The dense sounds of weapons clashing constantly rang out. The Dragon Slayer sword clashed with the weapons of the two emissaries in the air, producing a series of deafening clangs. Jinshin's sword was just too fast, and his ruler armament was extremely powerful. Every strike possessed great power, so the two emissaries only lasted for a few seconds before they became covered in wounds. One of them had his heart pierced by Jinshin, while the other had his entire right arm chopped off by Jinshin. They produced chilling cries as they lost the ability to continue fighting. After repelling the two emissaries, Jinshin immediately went to assist Xie Wang. They worked together to heavily injure the last two emissaries before pulling Xie Wang away and disappearing from sight very soon. Newbies was already injured. He was covered in blood, but this did not weaken his battle prowess at all. Instead, it aroused the viciousness of his bloodline. He became more and more valiant as he fought, keeping the two Holy Emperor busy all by himself. At the same time, he used his own poison on the two Holy Emperor, forcing them to use a portion of their strength to suppress the poison. As a result, their strength was greatly reduced. What shitty elders? Is that all you're capable of? Once I break through in the future, killing you will be as easy as flipping my hand. I'm not playing with you anymore. Newbie spat out a poisonous mist that enveloped the two Holy Emperor. He quickly left, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. We can't let them get away. Let's chase after them. Jensen ignored his injuries and chased after them. Stop chasing. Elder Ma Yin stopped Jensen with a wave of his hand. He stared in the direction Newbies and Xie Wang had fled in and said with a heavy voice, "Cidi and I are poisoned right now. The poison is extremely powerful, so we need to get rid of it as soon as possible. Otherwise, our lives will be in danger. The item is on them. We can't let them get away. The antidotes we have on us are unable to get rid of this poison. It's already too late for us to return to the Divine Hall. We need to find a place to suppress the spread of the poison and report this to the Hall Elders," CD said with a heavy voice. CD said in a deep voice, if they did not suppress the poison that was spreading in their bodies, they would soon die from the poison. There were two types of elders in the Serpent God Hall. One was the ordinary elders, while the other was the Hall elders. Ordinary elders only needed to reach the 15th star to take up the post, but Hall elders needed to reach the peak of the 16th star to take up the post. Among the three divine halls, Hall elders were only second to the Hall masters in status and authority. They were the most powerful people below the Hall masters. Elder Ma Yin and Sidi were only ordinary elders of the Serpent God Hall. The two elders and the four emissaries were quite injured. In particular, Elder Ma Yin and Elder Sidi's injuries were extremely severe. They needed to heal as soon as possible, or their lives would be in danger. As a result, they did not continue to chase after Jinshin's group of three. Instead, they found a place nearby to heal and suppress the poison within them. At the same time, they reported this to the Serpent God Hall. The Serpent God Hall learned of the situation very soon. The Hall Elder, Charlie, flew into a rage and immediately sent two more powerful elders with two antidotes to the location of the incident to save Sidi and Ma Yin. At the same time, they were tasked with the mission of retrieving the item. Although the two of them were still at the 15th star, they were equivalent to the Holy Emperor at the third heavenly layer according to the standards of the Tian Yuan continent. Jinshin and Xie Wang quickly fled into the distance. At this moment, he no longer cared about healing his wounds. He spent all his time traveling to prevent the experts of the Serpent God Hall from catching up to him again. Before long, newbies caught up from behind as well. He flew into the distance with Jinshin and Xie Wang. Newbies was currently pale-faced and in a horrible shape. He coughed up blood from time to time, having been heavily injured. Jinshin took out a large number of Class 6 Radiant Spirit pills from his space ring and gave them to newbies. He said, swallow these. Although they won't be enough to heal you completely, they can at least alleviate some of your wounds and prevent them from worsening. Now that Xie Wang was present, Jinshin did not want to expose the secret of the Saint artifact. Newbies did not hold back at all. He directly grabbed all the Class 6 Radiant Spirit pills from Jinshin's hands and swallowed them like candy. I really don't know if I made the wrong choice by following you. I never thought that I would offend the Serpent God Hall so quickly. The Serpent God Hall possesses absolute authority in their territory. They can command all the organizations of various sizes. We can't stay in the Serpent God Hall anymore. We need to leave, Xie Wang grumbled. Jinshin immediately took out a map and checked it. He said, we're closest to the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall right now. Let's hurry to the Heaven's Spirit Hall immediately. Jinshin, Xie Wang, and Xie Wang hurried to the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. After traveling for 3 whole days, they finally arrived at the edge of the territory of the Serpent God Hall. They were less than 10,000 kilometers away. During those 3 days, Jinshin's wounds had completely healed from the powerful regenerative abilities of the chaotic body. Even newbies had recovered from his wounds with the assistance of a large number of Class 6 Radiant Spirit pills, returning to his peak condition. During the 3 days of fleeing, Jinshin ignored the exhaustion of his soul. He constantly expanded the senses of his soul, enveloping a radius of several thousand kilometers. He paid close attention to the situation in the surroundings and avoided any possible dangers. At this moment, Jinshin's face changed slightly. He growled, oh no, the experts of the Poseidon Hall have actually caught up. They're even stronger this time. We can't stop them at all. Let's go. What? They've actually caught up again? How did they find us? Newbies' face changed slightly. Without any hesitation, he grabbed Jinshin's arm and charged forward as fast as he could. As long as they traveled another 10,000 kilometers, they would leave the territory of the Serpent God Hall. Newbies fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to travel. He moved 3 or 4 times faster than before, disappearing into the sky in the blink of an eye. Xie Wang's strength was similar to Newbies. He was a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler, so he followed closely behind Newbies and Xie Wang. However, the 2 Holy Emperor experts behind them moved even faster. When Jinshin's group was still 3,000 kilometers away from the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall, they could vaguely sense their tremendous presences. God damn it, they're experts at the third heavenly layer at the very least. If they catch up to us, we won't be able to escape anymore. Newbie's face changed drastically as he cried out. He immediately sped up, flying toward the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall with lightning-like speed. The distance between the two sides rapidly narrowed as they pursued. At this moment, Jinshin's group could clearly see the two experts chasing after them. They were less than 50 kilometers away now. You've injured a member of the Serpent God Hall, so we will hunt you down to the ends of the world. You won't be able to escape, so just surrender obediently. A thunderous voice rang out from behind them. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall, who were chasing after them, had called out, "Surrender? Do you think we're idiots?" Newbies pouted and whispered in disdain. However, he did not slow down at all. Instead, he sped up. Finally, Jinshin's group was only 25 kilometers away from the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall. At this moment, the two elders behind them seemed to become worried. They struck out decisively, sending out a powerful blade chi at Jinshin and Newbies with lightning speed. The blade chi had completely locked onto their presences, making it impossible to dodge. "I'll block it," Jinshin bellowed out at the sky. Chaotic force surged wildly within him as he pushed the defenses of the chaotic body to their limits. Boom! The powerful blade chi directly landed on Jinshin's chest. His clothes were immediately reduced to pieces, revealing the golden armor he wore underneath. His chest caved in as all the bones there had been shattered. If it were not for the armor, Jinshin probably would have been cleaved in half. Spurt! Jinshin vomited blood. His organs had been pulverized after blocking the combined attack from the two Holy Emperor. His wounds were much more severe than before. At the same time, Newbies left the territory of the Serpent God Hall with Jinshin and Xiaowang. They arrived in the territory of the Heaven Spirit Hall and did not stop at all. They continued to fly into the depths of the territory, disappearing into the horizon in the end. The two elders of the Serpent God Hall stopped at the border of the two regions. They stared at Jinshin's group with reluctance. They did not dare to take a single step beyond the border.